Well, Cymax and never received him hot pockets. Screams at the screen, trolls knocking on his sockets. Internet's a beast, claws out and ferocious. Cries about the trolls, man, it's atrocious. Fuck that. Music is Marty playing Puppet Master. Ruin Cyrax's life, moving a little faster. Cyrax cries the same old lines, lost in the cyberspace trenches deep in the mines. And this Marty, music is Marty playing Puppet Master. Ruin Cyrax's life, moving a little faster. Cyrax cries the same old lines, lost in the cyberspace trenches deep in the mines. And this Marty, keyboard warrior screaming hate. Empty voids, his endless fate. Electric screams ring so loud, man lost in a digital cloud. Don't leave Sally. Eyes red and swollen from staring at the screen. Haunted by the trolls, man, it's obscene. Echoes of laughter in the cyberspace night. Digital shadows where he lost the fight. Well, gee, music void, ain't nobody listening. Broken shards of a laughter listening. Trolls circling like hungry wolves. Feast on the chaos, internet goes. You said no sneaky shit, Marty. Keyboard warrior screaming hate. Empty voids, his endless fate. Electric screams ring so loud, man lost in a digital cloud. Screaming hate, empty voids, his endless fate. Electric screams rage so loud, man lost in a digital cloud. Don't leave Sally, digital cloud. Don't leave Sally, digital cloud. Don't leave Sally, don't leave Sally, don't leave Sally. Dusty road where sunlight bleeds. Miami, Arizona where freedom feeds. Stone walls echo with laughter bright. Only finest meet to quench the night. Strangers gather, tales to weave. Meet by the flag and none shall breathe. Music strums, hearts beating time. Meeting other minds, place sublime. Raise your glass, feel the power. Head by the flag and none shall breathe. Music strums, hearts beating time. Meeting other minds, place sublime. Raise your glass, feel the power. Every friend here make the hour. In the hall where stories find a home right here, true of mine. Pillars stand like time-worn lore. Wooden benches seem to roar. Faces new, smiles old. Warm welcome ever bold. Rivers of me golden flow. An open heart in every glow. Community strong, chains unbind at the meeting of the minds. Candles flicker, shadows slide in the chill where bonds are tied. Echoed songs through night and storm. A sanctuary true and warm. Raise your glass, feel the power. In by the flag and none shall breathe. Music strums, hearts beating time. Meeting of the minds, place sublime. Raise your glass, feel the power. Every friend here make the hour. In the hall where stories find a home right here, true of mine.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Dave. This is FFOP Radio. As usual, I'm running behind. You caught me trying to do some stuff before you saw me, but too slow. But that being said, let me, as I'm talking to you, do some things that makes it seem like I'm still paying attention to you, but I am not. There we go. That's good enough. So, welcome to the show. It's Flamingo Friday. You can kind of see it there. There you go. Here we are. So, what are we doing, you might be asking yourself. Maybe you just showed up and you missed the thumbnail, and the title card, and the title. I'll get to that in a second. Calm down. First, let me introduce my co-host and producer. Krista's over there.
That's me.
It's hot in here. It is Arizona summer. Welcome to it. You're probably not very hot where you are.
It's very hot.
So, Shanda Vander arc. This is a woman. What are we doing here? I'm asking myself. That's what I'm always asking myself, FDO. Yeah. I'm like, I'm behind schedule. I'm constantly at the last second. Like, you're lucky all the lights are on and shit. Oh, they're not all on either. Watch.
Uh-oh.
Is that better? Was it worth it?
Totally worth it.
Anyway, Shanda Vander arc. Let's unpack this a little bit.
Ugh.
So, we're going to be watching a couple of clips. This is going to be mostly cross-examination. I didn't want to watch direct with you guys because it's, oh my God. Like, as hard as it was for Nancy Brophy's lawyer to make her seem good on, or like, like a decent person on direct, Shanda is worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem is, if you don't know it, I'm going to unpack it just a little bit. So Shanda had a kid on the spectrum. I think all of her kids are on the spectrum because Paul isn't right.
From what it seemed like, it was like all of them.
Paul ain't right. That's why he got roped into this. But Shanda had 3 or 4 kids. She's got a daughter somewhere. It'll come up in the cross-examination. It doesn't matter because it's irrelevant. Timothy is the person that we are going to be speaking about because he was between 13 and 15, depending on the timeline. He came to move in with Shanda because his dad was like,
I can't deal with
tired of it. Like, having a kid's a lot of responsibility, it turns out. Dumb fuck. So, especially if you have 4 of them. So Timothy comes back to live with Shanda, Paul, and G, or little man. His name's Gabriel. She says it a whole bunch, so it's not like,
yeah,
I'm going to be protecting this kid's anonymity because she says it, and whatever. Moral of the story is, on direct, her defense attorney had to make it seem like monitoring your child with a zillion cameras and motion sensors and cold baths and starvation and hot sauce on bread and hot sauce on his genitals and all this stuff there was copious amounts of digital evidence of was just normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the thing, guys. I didn't grow up in like a great family situation, but one thing I can say is no one slathered my wiener in hot sauce as a punishment. So, and that was like the least, right? He had to sleep, this poor kid had to sleep in a closet. And according to Shanda, that's what he wanted. He wanted to sleep in a 2.5-foot square room on top of a blue tarp because he wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They were moral of the story is they starved him, this poor child, to death. He wasn't nonverbal, so it wasn't like that poor 13-year-old girl whose mother put her in the back of the car for 4 to 6 hours and just let her die because she was nonverbal. Timothy wasn't. So this was like an orchestrated torture of a human being put on by Shanda herself. And she used Paul, her other son, Paul Ferguson, as like her little toady. And he is so like, okay, Ma, like that he just did everything. And here's the thing. you can watch Paul's interrogation because he also gets up on the stand and does all that stuff too, where I don't want to watch any of that because it's a foregone conclusion. But Paul's interrogation is strange because the detective knows he's subnormal, but he also has to deal with the fact that this person was involved in the slow, tortuous death of another child.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
True crime's not FDO's thing, so he'll be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's fine. If you don't like true crime, I get it. But it's going to be basically... Here, so let me get her pulled in here. Here she is, Shanda Vander arc. I want to show you, again, 2 clips. This first one, super short. It's going to be... so they had to cut it up because for the first 15 minutes... prosecutor's doing his thing, cross-examining her. She's looking like a monster, as is the case, because she is. Mm-hmm. We're going to get to... He's going to talk about... Because we're going to hash a lot of ground again in the second part. But the reason why I wanted to show you this is because they're discussing all the torture. He goes... Yeah, we'll get to it. He's going to show her a picture of what her son looked like the day he died, which is also going to be the time... that she claims that she put him into a warm bath.
Oh, yeah.
Never happened. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into it. We'll describe more as we go along the way. But here, I just want you to see, this is terrible acting. Because she's going to go, oh, my, oh, and then we'll have to cut to a recess because...
She's distressed.
Like, that. The thing is, like, the prosecutor, the judge, everybody involved is like... Because you know what throwing up sounds like, right? It's wet and there's shit flying all over the place. She's going to go, and just bullshit her way through this. And they'll go, okay, let's take a recess. Then we're going to skip over the recess and he'll get into ripping her to shreds yet again.
And keep in mind, like, this woman, we may get to it if they talk about it, but she was like she passed the bar, didn't she?
So she's good. That was part of the first part of the direct where her lawyer is like, oh, you're super smart, right? Because she's intelligent when it comes to like knowledge, but she's a monster.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. Top of her class. I worked in IT. That's how rather, because the prosecuting and the defense attorney are like, well, how'd you like get all, she like whatever. She cannot stop blowing herself long enough to be like, I'm so smart. I set up all the cameras in my house to keep an eye on my child, so I made sure to know that I was killing him because I'm a genius, essentially.
Yeah.
Enough talking. Let's get into it.
You said that you would, the punishments, and I guess this 3 o'clock in the morning one about not letting him sleep.
And P.S., sorry, but like to throw this face on your mug and then put on the Frau Blucher fucking
the
braids, like you're just coming off as like an angry German nurse from a 1942 like German hospital.
Yeah.
Good plan. Like Brophy at least threw on a fucking scarf to be like, woo, I'm light and airy. She's like, I would have looked like an angry German nurse that works in like one of those camps that we all hate, right?
Yeah. She's pulling it off great.
Sleep or he gets an ice bath, so he's got to be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. You said that was because he would keep you guys up in the middle of the night or wake you up in the middle of the night?
Yes, sir.
Can you, and again, you did really well on the logic and reasoning portion of the LSAT exam. Can you explain the reasoning behind keeping somebody awake when they're keeping you awake?
This is good.
To show them how it feels.
But they're already awake, aren't they?
It made sense to me, sir. That's now that you ask it, but it doesn't seem to make sense. But
because I'm an idiot, she'll do that a lot. She'll be like, if that's what it says, or like, I don't know. But okay, so here's another layer of icing on this shitty cake. The husband she was with after the husband or the dude she had Tim with, so that husband that she'll be talking about was born disabled.
Yeah. So
he was in a wheelchair already.
And then he had a stroke.
He has a stroke, and that takes him out completely. And she's going to be like, so here's the thing. She's going to say she contracted, or maybe she said it earlier, and I'm just telling you. She'll say, well, I got PTSD from dealing with things that everyone deals with all the time, but I'm Shanda Vander arc. So I saw she's going to say, you may not hear it, but she does say she wasn't there when the stroke happened, but she got there afterwards. And she witnessed him post-stroke, which gave her PTSD.
Yep.
Like, I've seen people from soup to nuts get a stroke. I used to work in an assisted living facility, and I saw the light drain from people's eyes before my own. I did not need a service dog after that.
It made sense to me at the time.
You didn't actually mean that as a punishment. That was just out of spite. You were just angry with Timothy for keeping you awake, weren't you?
No, it was meant as a punishment, sir.
Spiteful punishment.
Sir.
But it's also a punishment for yourself
And
because you have to stay
spiteful.
awake as well, don't you?
I don't sleep much anyway, but yes, sir.
Or Paul has to stay awake, right?
A cougher gets into every fucking courtroom. From Daryl Brooks to Shanda Vander. He's like, there's a guy on YouTube. He's like the carpetbagger. He like flies all over the place in a pork pie hat and visits all kinds of roadside attractions. And I haven't found it yet, but there's got to be a YouTube channel out there of like the courtroom cougher who's like, here we are again in Minneapolis, like wherever he's at, like in Arizona, he's got like this sort of shit on. In Minnesota, he's all bundled up, but no matter where he goes, he's always like in every video.
Yes, sir. Paul's an insomniac as well.
Paul.
You testified that you gave Timothy a warm bath the night before he passed away.
Here we
that
go,
last
guys.
night, July 5th. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
That was the first time you've told anybody connected to this case that you'd done that, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Was
You
a
never
lie.
told the police officers you did
Yes,
that,
sir.
did you?
No, sir.
I imagine a warm bath sounds just like, it's just what it sounds like, right? You got him, you took
Bath
him
and
to
warm
the bath,
water?
you grew a warm bath for him, and you put him in the bathtub, right?
Yes, sir.
Sir. Hi, sir. Here we go. He's rifling through the papers.
This is hours before he dies, right?
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
You look like that when you put him in the bathtub?
Do you hear any puke happening? Like, I've got a gag reflex that has a hair trigger, and I have more wet vocal noises coming out of me, no vomit, than she is hypothetically throwing up right now.
Sorry.
Just in a minute.
Yes. Miss Vander,
I noticed the lack of concern because
Yeah.
emergencies usually call out, or like, urgent situations. Like if someone were really throwing up, like every head would turn. You go, because like that's a visceral sound. You hear someone throwing up, it's going to trigger something in you to at least look over, if not throw up yourself.
Right. Like you can pretend to make dry heaves.
So
you know?
everybody here is like, picking up their papers and getting them all squared away, and the judge is like, Oh, Miss Vander Ark,
And
you need like a...
her defense attorney's not even like,
I did.
take a recess.
They will, but again,
Well,
since
I know.
this is bullshit, like, why are we going to jump to like, oh no, she's faking something.
Well,
Let's
I'm
go to
saying you'd
recess.
think her defense attorney would be on like the.
If she were a good actor, I would buy that he'd be like, Your Honor, can we... But
Yeah.
she's probably... Like, this doesn't feel like something her and her defense attorney were like, hey, when he whips out pictures of your dead son, which you, but we're totally aware of, we'll get to it later. Like, this is her improvising and not working.
Would you like the jury removed? Right. Please rise.
Yeah. So then they, like, her little tiny witch hump back there. So that's that. So she does that whole thing, and they go, let's go take a break, and blah, blah, blah. So 5, 10, 15 minutes later, we're going to come back in, and, this is when the good stuff really happens. Because I needed you to see that, because that is the first thing mentioned in this footage as we come back from the break.
You may be seated. Mr. Roberts, you can continue.
Thank you. Before we get back to the question I originally asked Ms. Vander Ark, you just obviously had quite a visual reaction there to the jury, a physical reaction in front of the jury looking at those photographs.
Visual reaction for
That's
sure.
not the first time you've seen these photographs, though, is it? In fact, you sat in this very courtroom not even a week ago on Friday when we had a hearing about those photographs and looked at those photographs, didn't
I
you?
did not look at them last week, sir.
You didn't look at them last week?
No, sir, I did not.
But you've looked at them before, haven't you?
It was, I think it was at the prelim, and I gagged that day too. It just wasn't as bad.
Didn't throw up, though.
No, it wasn't as bad.
So if there's video from that hearing,
I'd say you didn't throw up now.
This time.
But, well, I need a habeas corpus here. I need to see a trash can full of barf if I'm going to believe it, because I don't.
that we had last week where you thumbed through
Like Descartes, remember? Detective Descartes. He says, I didn't believe anything unless it's proven to me, and very few things have been. This is one of those things.
the
I bet
photographs,
she was bent
including the
over sticking her
autopsy
finger
photos,
down
now
through.
vomiting. Do you just not remember that as well?
We didn't have the autopsy, we didn't have those photos over at our table, sir. It won't be on the video, I can promise you that.
Well, then I'll return to my original question.
Oh, guilty. I mean, this
Those
sorry.
3 photographs depict your son hours after you supposedly put him in a warm bath. Did he look like that when you put him in the warm bath, but for the fact that he was alive?
I did not look at him, sir. He was 15. I tried to.
I hate this part because, like, sure, you don't want to see your own child naked. I don't want to see any other human being naked unless it's my desire to see them naked. And typically I don't, right? So I get that you don't want to see your son's tackle box, but you're putting him in the bath. And I can't imagine you affixing a blindfold, picking up your son who at his death weighed 60 pounds and gingerly, like, because it'd be like picking up a bundle of twigs, right?
Right.
Like yard refuse. He's like, oh, I didn't look. I just dumped this dry, dusty bundle into a bath of warm water, which again, I don't think happened.
No.
I tried to give him his privacy. It may sound lame, but I
So
that's
lame.
More than
look
lame.
away. That's why Paul did most of his baths, is because he's 15 and I didn't think that was appropriate.
So you didn't put him in the bathtub?
No, he was already in the tub. I just looked.
Did you get him out of the tub?
I don't remember. I think so. Later that night, I would assume so.
Later that night, how long was he in the tub?
Hours.
Well, night to me is any time after work. So
Okay.
It really doesn't answer the question, right? Night? How long was he in there? Oh, night's just whenever I leave work. Okay, so the question still stands, right? How long was he in there?
How long was he in the tub?
Oh, there we go.
I don't think it was long after I got home, but I don't know.
Hours. It was always hours.
Again, you didn't tell the police officers this when they talked to you about what had happened the night before, did you?
I don't remember. Apparently, I didn't.
Well, so you don't remember what you told the police officers?
I remember part of it, but I mean, if you say I didn't tell them, then I trust your word there.
If you told the police officers that
I
you
trust
noticed he was
your
skinny,
word.
Right, because she's in that idiot's dilemma where she wants to just deny everything and say, I don't know, and because she's one of these idiots who thinks that works, but since everything is, existing, the videos, the copious amounts of videos, because there was cameras all over the damn place, like the handcuffs, the motion sensors, the tarp, the text messages between her and Paul. This isn't like, if that's what it says, I guess that's what happened. So if the text message said, like, hey, I murdered Tim, and it's from you, was that you? If it was,
If you're telling me it is, and that's
just
what it
go to
says.
jail already, you idiot.
so you made him some bread and put some butter on it and watched him eat 3/4 of it and then sent him to bed? Does that refresh your recollection about what you told the officers?
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I don't remember saying it, but
So you don't remember saying those things to the police officer?
no, sir.
And those things clearly didn't happen, did they?
No, sir.
How did he get into his room that night?
I don't remember, sir.
It's convenient.
Convenient.
Last page of the text messages. You can go ahead and read that very top text message, please.
Binder
Set your
full.
alarm for 6 a.m. I ended up dragging him back to his small room because I wasn't going to risk him having access to the tub or other things overnight. He's still trying to be stupid, but I will tell you more tomorrow while I take you to work, describing how many different ways I proved that he's still faking. He's still doing it, though. It's beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, amazing. He still keeps trying to get at our food despite the fact I don't want to give him any.
And he's like, if I remember, and again, we'll probably hear it, like, he's only allowed to eat, like, canned food? Is that...
No, they're going to bring up canned food, but...
Oh, okay. I thought it seemed the way when I was hearing it.
Like, the... I don't know what you want to call it. Her broken logic is like, he was allowed to eat. He just wasn't allowed to sneak food, right? Mm-hmm. But he was allowed to eat when she said he could, which was always bread and hot sauce. And sneaking food was trying to eat things that a body needs to stay alive. So when you criminalize normal activity,
Yeah.
what do you think is going to happen, dipshit? I like how they print it out, because you can see in the binder there, you can see how the texts are printed out with, like, they probably used 6 or 7 color cartridges, just printing out their text in the green and blue back and forth.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't, like, drop the saturation down a little bit, save the count?
Nah.
Jesus.
I ended up dragging him back to his small room because I wasn't
Closet.
going to risk him having access to the tub or other things overnight. Plan was for him to sleep in the bathroom, wasn't it?
What do you think when her eyes darted and her head flew over to the jury there? Like, what do you think she was hoping to see?
That's what I'm saying. Every time she looks over there, I'm like, is that the jury or her,
Well, 'cause
her attorney?
Her attorney's on that side too.
Oh.
But so is the jury. But the fact that she's like, do you think she was like hoping to look over there and see a bunch of people looking like me going like, like totally aghast? Like, I can't believe this charade of a trial is even going on. Like, pull a Baldwin and just say dismissed, right? She's like, oh, come on, jury.
Yeah.
My kid was a pain in the ass and he died.
I don't remember, sir.
Yeah, why would you?
I mean, I know that in the text message, but if that's what the text message says.
Every answer, yes.
You had to drag him back to the small room. Again, the small room being the
Closet.
closet, right?
Yes, sir.
Supposedly that he wanted to sleep in.
Yes, sir.
But you had to drag him there. Why was that?
Well,
'Cause he wanted to.
dragging, I mean, that could be anywhere from grabbing a hold of an arm and because someone's not being cooperative. That can be a range of things, sir. So I don't know what I was referring to there.
I'm guilty of hyperbole. It's gotten me in trouble. But here's the thing, like, people get at my ass and be like, oh, you blew everything out of proportion. Like, it's not that bad. And I go, I don't think so. Like, I'm open to a creative license. Only because I don't have, like, a ream of evidence to show that I was doing the horrible things or the outlandish things that I tell people. Because, you know, if you're a good storyteller, you'll embellish.
Right.
But I've never been like, I dragged my dying son to the room and threw him against the wall. And then when he dies, I would have to, like, go through that text and be like, well, dragging is such a... I was lightly tugging him. And I didn't necessarily throw him against the wall. He was like a baby bird. He jumped out of my hands and tried to flap and just bam, splat. You know, I'm trying to tone down my hyperbole in latter-day life because I know it's annoying to a lot of people. But sometimes you just can't help it. So I get two sides of this coin. If you're just an over-exaggerator, I don't want that to be held against anybody. But if they've got evidence to back it up, then by all means.
Right. Yeah.
Like, my son says our dogs are going crazy all the time, and they're the most elderly, mellow animals on the planet. Should he be held accountable? Like, oh, that's wild accusations, imposing mental illness on a dog because he's, you know.
Seen the video.
All the time.
No, sir. I haven't seen any videos.
Do you need your memory refreshed
watch
about
Avatar?
him getting back in the small room that night?
No, sir. I mean, like I said, I'll take the... I don't remember actually doing it.
Did you physically pull him into the room that night?
Yes, sir. I mean,
And did you push him down onto the ground so that he was laying and facing the camera?
What's up,
if
Tony?
that's what it shows, then yes, sir.
Hey.
And did you push
Really quick, now that Tony's here, I want to talk about Tony for a quick sec.
Tony.
Tony, when you come out here again, when I get that sheik hired to pick you up on his second camel, there's a YouTube guy creator out there. His name's Paul. It's reporting live from my couch, and the true crime guy.
Oh.
He reminds me so much of Tony. I don't necessarily like his content, but he reminds me so much of Tony. I watch him because I go, oh, that's like Tony.
Yeah, because we miss Tony.
I mean, it's not super like Tony, but he's enough. Like, it's a Tony facsimile. I'll take it.
Yeah.
you position his face towards the camera?
If that's what it shows,
The video.
And did you
I can't believe, like, if I were this prosecuting attorney, I would just have, like, all the video clips and I would be holding the remote the entire time.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to refresh your memory? Like, should we go back? Like with Dustin in his chats. You're going to make me read the chat again? Like, John Dudinsky said, he not only threatened him with reading the chats, but after Dustin, like, wouldn't play ball, he's like, okay, I'm going to he put his money where his mouth is.
Right.
He said, where do you want my sperm first? Remember, guys?
Would you tell him that he owes you the biggest apology on the face of the earth, and then maybe he can get out to go to the bathroom?
If
that's what it
shows, sir,
says.
I don't remember.
She looks like
And
her
did you
name would be
return a little while
Olga.
later because he had rolled over away from the
Helga.
camera so that you couldn't see him on camera.
If that's what it shows. I don't remember any of this.
And did you tell him you don't need to open your mouth?
This is a person who is, to her own words, a genius who is able to remember all the stuff from law school and pass the bar on her first attempt, which is very difficult. And I would say that, like, abusing your child over the course of a long weekend is nothing like law school and should be pretty memorable. But
Correct.
maybe since there wasn't a test on murdering your child, she didn't take it to, long-term memory storage.
Your mouth every time you breathe, dummy, and then hold his mouth shut.
I don't know what I said, sir. I mean,
She did say that.
I'll take your word for that's what the
Oh,
video
you don't have to
says.
take my word for it. Let's play the video for it.
Oh, good.
Oh,
So look at her. But no, please.
you don't have
That's
to do
not
that.
necessary. If that's what you're saying it shows. I believe you. I'm
So
not.
you're acknowledging that the night before Timothy died, hours before he died, you dragged him looking like that
See that quick, desperate glance to the jury, like, oh, fuck.
back into his small room,
We're 5 minutes into this
positioned him in
video.
front of a camera, told him he owed you an apology, then came back later because he rolled over away from the camera and held his mouth closed and said, see, you don't have to open your mouth when you breathe, dummy. You're acknowledging you did those things.
If that's what the camera shows, yes, sir.
This
That's what the camera told you, sir.
this guy, where is this at? Do you remember what state this is? It's not Wisconsin, right? It's not Shabusiness Town.
I don't think so.
This prosecutor, his voice reminds me of the prosecutor for Shabusiness. But it probably isn't.
It's a different spot. You got a tell right there. You can Google. I just don't know. Because all these places and people, or the people are important. The places are unimportant to me. Like, it doesn't matter what, because it's just going to be, once you go like, oh, what happened in blank, it's going to be everybody in every other state going like, what a bunch of hillbillies or whatever, and everybody in that state going like, hey, we're not so bad. Like, it's the constant Florida dilemma where, like, everybody thinks that they're the bottom of the heap, but, like, they just have a bunch of laws in place where they go, guess what? It's on YouTube now.
It's in Muskegon County, Michigan.
Okay.
You didn't put him in a warm bath that night, did you?
Yes, sir, I did.
But you had to drag him away from it?
If that's what it says.
So yes, sir, I did. I remember, again, no, she didn't. She made Paul stare at his whatever to get him in the bath. But now, here, when it's going to make her look good that the warm bath is there, she goes, yeah, I definitely did that. But when it was over, I was just like, and he ended up in his room.
Well, like, what was the reason?
I know that.
Like,
I know.
why does it, like, is the warm bath such a, like...
Oh, because here's the thing. One of his punishments was ice baths, and he would be kept in a bathtub full of ice and water for up to 9 hours. So she thinks that this warm bath
is like
will
a treat.
Somehow, yeah, like if you roll over like a thorn bush out in the outback and blow all your tires, right? Like, you're gonna feel pretty good that you can replace one with the spare, but the other 3 are still trash.
Yeah.
But you're really going to feel like that spare donut is what's going to save your ass. And you can look off into where the jury would be in the outback and be like, guys?
Anybody?
I
Got
know
a
he had
spare.
a hoodie on.
Oh, well, there you go. Warm bath and a hoodie. Solid facts.
You said the locks on the refrigerator were there because he got into the refrigerator, and if I heard your testimony correctly, he ate a pound of frozen hamburger?
Yes, sir. That
Seems
was bad.
And a
desperate.
bag of chicken nuggets?
A frozen bag of chicken nuggets, yes, sir.
So I want to... He's going to go over this, too, because, like, it's going to come out. But her original story or telling of this tale was that he ate a bag of frozen, uncooked chicken nuggets. Have you ever bought chicken nuggets that were not already cooked because they're for babies, and all you have to do is throw them in the microwave to warm them up?
Right.
So her sticking point here is like, he could have died. Let that sink in for a second. He could have died. He's dead. He could have died earlier if he had gotten salmonella from those raw frozen chicken nuggets. They were cooked, though. So there was no chance he was going to contract anything outside of a bizarre confluence of just like random chance.
And like for her being so smart, a majority, like all of like already breaded stuff is already cooked.
Right, but that's the thing. She's telling a lie to try and make herself look less like, I don't know, man. It's like if a giant monster comes and like kicks down your house and smashes half of your family and grinds the other half under his heel until they're a smooth red paste. Like if he turned around and like shot you a high five or like a wink and a thumbs up and he's like, you're a cool dude, and then ran off into the night.
Right.
That's not so much a silver lining to that cloud. It's just a confusing element of an already tragic situation.
Yeah.
So for her to be like, ding, like,
Well,
as chaos reigns supreme. What's happening, Matt?
Hey,
P.S.
Matt. And yes, I like.
You missed my Australian references earlier. I was hoping you'd be here for that.
But frozen, like hamburger meat.
Right.
Sure.
But I didn't want to talk about the. Obviously, there's a problem with eating raw meat. This wasn't that. But she has. I only want to hammer on this because she has brought it up multiple times to the cops to be like, oh, but he could have. He could have.
Yeah.
He did. You just would have been upset if he died from the chicken as opposed to you just starving him.
Yeah.
It's a weird place to split hairs.
And frozen hamburger.
Yes, the hamburger was not frozen, it was refrigerated.
But frozen chicken nuggets.
Frozen chicken nuggets and raw bacon.
And raw bacon.
Yes, sir.
Frozen raw bacon?
No, it was in the refrigerator.
The frozen stuff was the chicken.
The chicken nuggets, that was the only frozen, yes, sir.
Did you think he had an affinity for frozen food?
Interesting
I
question.
didn't know the only thing he ate frozen was the chicken nuggets.
It's like something you would do if you're utterly desperate for survival, right, Shanda? I mean, you're smart. They ever teach you how to like survive in lawyer school? You need food. Gosh, she is gulping hard
Is that why you sent a text
now.
message to Paul while he was in the ice bath at 3:43 that afternoon and said, "Oh, okay, crazy thought. Tell him if he actually sits up by himself and stays sitting up, he will get some pizza rolls. Don't tell him it's only 2, and I'm okay if they are frozen rather than cooked." Why'd you send that text message?
I don't know.
Don't remember?
If that's what it says, but I don't know because I don't remember. My husband had a stroke and I came in after the fact and it was horrified beyond belief. So that's why I had to torture my son to death.
Yep. I have
Come on,
PTSD from my husband having a stroke, and I also got memory symptoms from him
So you're not
too.
worried about him eating frozen pizza rolls if he sits up?
If that's what it says.
You've heard it read several times.
Yes,
You're not
sir.
doubting that's what it says, right?
Yes, sir.
Just another one of those memories that you just
Whoopsie
was
daisy.
gone from your head,
Right.
right?
Yes, sir.
Oh God, look at her. Now she's looking at directly at you. So here's the thing. I should have done this, but I'm stupid. What I should have done is like taken a screen grab from like the first question on direct, because she's like, oh, I'm super smart. I went to law school. She is slowly morphing through the stages of dog to like pug.
Yeah.
Like we're at one of those. She's like at maybe like Schnauzer level, but her cheeks are getting heavier. Her jowls are being pronounced.
Yeah.
Like everything is sinking. The circles under her eyes are darkening as we watch.
She's gonna be a droopy dog pretty soon.
Let this be a lesson to you. Even if you're guilty as hell, don't go up on the stand. Don't.
Why
Like-
would you do this?
Every criminal who gets away like without the death penalty does so, or life in prison, does so because they don't get up on the stand and they go, here's the thing. I am so confident in my abilities that after the direct, that'll make me look like an angel. I can kickflip anything that happens on cross. Mm-hmm. And then everything that comes to you on cross, which is like a skateboard chucked at you that you're going to grab and kickflip in the air and do a mad ollie, is just bouncing off your dumbass head, leaving dent after dent after dent. And you're there on the ground sputtering and drooling, and they keep throwing skateboards at you because you get to leave when they say it's over.
Yeah.
You don't get to go like, I think I'm done being harassed.
Right. You can't fake vomit and like think that you're done. Because
Kickflip
here
the
you are.
cross.
Yeah.
So when you told Detective Peasky that the reason the locks were on the refrigerator is because he would get into them and he'd leave the doors open, that was a lie, wasn't it?
No, that was also true. He did that as well.
Because it was
Putting
starving,
locks on
right?
fix that problem.
He can't get into it then, so it doesn't get left open. You
Oh,
know,
so
he
he
was the
wasn't,
only
so
one.
you admit that he was not allowed access to the refrigerator or the freezer or to the pantry?
As far as the refrigerator and freezer after we put the locks on.
Obviously, idiot. He's saying, so you denied him access
To food.
A, B, and C. It's just, well, A and B he couldn't get until we put the locks on.
So he wouldn't leave the door open, but he still
Right,
couldn't
so
eat also.
The question.
He couldn't get into them, could he?
No, not after that.
And the pantry had an alarm on it as well, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
Okay?
I've got evidence here. It says,
What's this?
that's what that says, sir.
We'll move on. We can circle back to that one.
We'll circle back.
Like, who did we just watch? I think it was like Michael Dunn or somebody else who's like, oh, we'll get
Oh
to
yeah,
that.
we'll get to that. That was
when
Michael
when
Dunn.
you keep bringing up things, it's like, oh, well, what about this nail? Can you put it into my coffin right now? And they go, whoa, I know how to make a coffin, Michael.
Don't you worry.
I'll get the nails in, and your body can jump right in as soon as I'm done. But only hand me the nails I need at the time I need them.
Let's talk about some of the other things that you told.
Boy, I
Detective
hope we
Peasky.
get to. YouTube, the coffin
I'm here.
cornist.
You told Detective Peasky that long after the stroke happened in January, Timothy went on a hunger strike. That was a lie, wasn't it?
Not long after. And no, that was not a lie. That was the truth.
He went on a hunger strike.
Yes, sir, he did. It was.
No.
It wasn't.
I don't believe that. I can't. Right?
Why would a kid go on a hunger strike after your dad has
It's
a
not
stroke?
even his dad.
Right,
It's his stepdad. It's like well, this might happen, but if like Cyrax went on a hunger strike because Ed had a stroke or whatever. But if you keep up with that lore, I mean, they might be tighter than you might think in all
Fosco,
the wrong
you here?
ways. Fosco, where are you?
It wasn't immediately, but it was within a few days.
And why?
A hunger strike is refusing to eat, right?
Against what? He was striking against what, Shanda?
Right, exactly. Why would you?
So
Why?
he's refusing to eat food not long after your husband has a stroke.
I don't think
right?
he asked why, which is why I'm so irritated by it.
Then
Yeah.
you don't need to put locks on the refrigerator and freezer, do you? If he's refusing to eat.
He stopped. He actually started eating again.
So I had to make him
He
stop
started
again.
eating again, so then you decided he's been on a hunger strike, he's eating again, so now we better lock up the food.
No, I did the locks to protect him because he could have killed himself eating the chicken nuggets.
Don't, right? He gonna kill himself, idiot. You're on trial for his murder, and you're gonna be like, oh, could you imagine if he choked to death on a marble? That's why I had to deny him Legos. What if he died eating a Lego man, and I wasn't involved, right? I'd feel so robbed of that opportunity. That's a monster.
I didn't put the locks on after he did the hamburger or the bacon, but the chicken nuggets, it was raw chicken.
It was
It wasn't.
raw
They're
meat.
Aren't they? They're pre-cooked.
Are they?
Are they?
they?
You lived it. Here's the thing. I would get upset if I found my kid with a handful of raw hamburger and a fistful of raw bacon he was shoving in his mouth. I go, oh my God. Like, we would be at the doctor's within the next 20 minutes.
Right.
But if I saw him like gnawing on a frozen pre-cooked chicken nugget, and again, all chicken nuggets are pre-cooked unless, you're an idiot like Shanda here and just don't know that, because if you take no interest in children, you won't know stuff like that. Like, if you don't give a fuck about your kids, you won't know their cartoons, you won't know their food is pre-cooked, you won't know, like, anything about them. I know everything about my son because I take a vested interest. I also know that chicken nuggets are pre-cooked.
Yeah. Because they have to be.
I didn't even think about that.
But it's okay
How did you not? You bought them! God damn it!
if he has a frozen pizza roll or two, if he sits up, right?
Yes, sir.
See, now her nose is getting a little red, a little watery. She's really doubling down on that dog because the prosecuting attorney's going to touch her nose and is like, oh, it's cold and wet. That means you're healthy, Shanda.
February 18th, 2022. Find out what he has snuck right the heck now. Because I know he has snuck all stuff since you weren't doing what you were supposed to. What do you mean you didn't know he was awake? You both should have been awake at 10:30. I am not happy. You know he wasn't just sitting there. Check the brownies in the kitchen. Check everything not locked away. Check where the flipping keys have been. So starting February, you had to lock up all the food. Make sure he's not getting into the brownies, right?
All of the food was never locked. There's no pictures of it, but one of the lower cupboards had quite a bit of canned food in it. And he actually would get into that and eat stuff out of cans as well.
Because he couldn't get anywhere else.
Here's the thing. People do that when they're desperate, and animals do it because it's easy to get into. Like if this were a bear, like eating your canned goods, you go, oh, my goddamn bear got into the cream corn again. Because they don't need a can opener. But like if someone is so desperate, they're willing to just eat frozen food, raw food, canned things. I don't want to hammer on this point, but it's just like so absurd. Like every doubling down just feels like, her view every time she glances over there toward the jury must be just a gaggle. Like 12 men and women just.
Right. Like how, like you can't keep your facial expressions. I don't know how a normal person could do that.
I'm saying, like, that's probably why, again, I've never been on a jury because I feel like I'm not jury material. But normal people have to be reacting to this.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I would never be able to be on her jury.
But there was never a lock on that lower cupboard. I don't know if they, I know they took pictures of it because I showed it to them.
So he had access to one cupboard of food?
The pantry wasn't locked the whole time, I know that.
But there were times the pantry was locked or had an alarm on it, wasn't there?
There was no alarm. I never got one for the pantry.
All the alarms I got, I affixed to his body so that if he moved, the alarm would go off.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a stressful situation, right? Have you ever tried to go to sleep with a bunch of cameras on you and a bunch of motion sensors, so you had to lay extremely still? Otherwise,
I've heard the text messages. I don't
I mean,
remember
you guys
there being
grew
a lock on
up
the
like
pantry.
I
but I've
did.
heard-
Prisoners of
228,
war.
check his breath. I can almost guarantee he's eaten something. He was chewing on something when he walked downstairs. You and I will be talking about this on a later date when we're both home. Paul's response, yes, he grabbed some chips. I know. So he wasn't allowed to eat chips on 2/28 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Couldn't have some chips. Right?
I mean, I don't know what happened in that situation.
Well, you didn't say, make sure he didn't get into the frozen chicken nuggets because it might kill him. You said, find out what he's been into, and Paul says he's been into chips. Right?
That's what it says, yes, sir.
So I imagine the next text message then is, oh, great, that's fine, he can have some chips.
But it's not,
no,
is
the
it?
point of it was he was sneaking things. He knew better.
Couldn't have chips.
It wasn't that he couldn't have chips. It was that he would sneak things.
It's just that he couldn't have. No, it couldn't have chips. Because
Yeah.
even if he asked, I would have slapped him across the face because I am a monster.
It was dishonest.
How would he earn getting
It was
chips?
dishonest.
He didn't have to earn them. All he had to do was ask.
No.
Like who would he ask if nobody was home?
Yeah, who's he going to ask? You, the prison ward, or his mentally subnormal brother who follows your beck and call and takes no qualms about dousing his wiener in hot sauce, right? You ever dipped your dick in Tabasco?
Probably not, right?
Do it and tell me if it's an enjoyable experience. And then amp that up to about 1,000, and that's his life every fucking day.
I was trying to teach him not to sneak. He snuck. It wasn't just food. He would sneak in the garage. He would sneak toys. He
Unbelievable. I can't tell you how many times my kid sneaks into his playroom to sneak up into some toys. And I go, God damn it, those Hot Wheels are for
You?
sneaking toys. Sneaking toys. He was sneaking into those toys, sneaking into the food. He tried to sneak some water once, and I had to whip him.
snuck around and messed with his baby brother's homeschooling materials. I've got like flashcards and stuff for him. He messed with those and got them all out of order.
March 4th
Chaos.
is around the time that you acknowledged that he was in zip cuffs. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but I don't think we clarified your final text message where you said, you know what? We will start cutting off the ends once they are tight so he can't do that. Is that one of the...
That's normal, right, guys? I mean, didn't your parents ever get like some zip ties and hog tie your ass in a small closet? Some of the best memories I have are being zip tied, face down, breathing carpet dust, in a black room that's 2.5 feet square. Goddamn, what a great childhood.
This reminds me of a long time ago. I read a child called It,
Oh yeah, everybody in my high school read that.
and it's like a trilogy, I think, if I remember correctly. But this stuff reminds me of that, and it was a true story.
Well, because this isn't unusual. That's the problem. This isn't an unusual situation. People right now are abusing and killing their family members for the simple fact of them being obnoxious or irritating, or there's just a plain old monster like Shanda here, and there is no reason. I can't think of, like, if my kid gets into his flashcards and messes up the order of them, like, I don't know if that's punishable by death.
I'd say not.
I would strongly agree with that too. Like, if he gets in, like, let's say he gets into some stickers, as he does, and sticks them in places where they shouldn't go. It's not like, well, it's off to the Tower of London until your execution, right? Like, say hello to bread and water for the next 4 years, and then an unceremonious guillotining.
Can't remember texts too?
Yes, sir.
Jury? Bueller?
March 19th. Okay, that only makes partial sense. What did he grab? LOL. Paul's
LOL.
response, I don't know, chips or something small he had in his pocket. Okay, tell him he just restarted his not eating again. That was you. March 19th. Tell him he's just restarted his not eating again. So he took chips. So the punishment for that is now he's not allowed to eat anything again, right?
If that's, I don't remember, sir.
Don't remember that one. Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, as a prosecuting attorney, this is the kind of answer I would love to get. Like, if I could get some idiot up on the stand and have them just be like, "I don't remember," as I like get my laser pointer or whatever, like the big stick all the old teachers use, and I start pointing out shit, and I start playing videos on the Roku. I would honestly love for them to be like, if that's what it says, or I don't remember, or whatever. Because, like, you can't just look into hard evidence and be like, no.
Well, yeah,
But a
because
close second, I guess that maybe that would be the first thing I would want. I would want someone to go like when the prosecutor goes, "Whoa, we found your DNA and fingerprints and shit," but that never leaves the interrogation room. People will look at a detective's face and they say, "Well, we got your DNA, your face is on camera, we found the gun, we found the mask, we found Descartes' handwritten notes to you, Gabriel." And you can go, "Well, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. No, like, no, you didn't," and do like a Z snap. I don't know why that never, and maybe it does, but I've never seen it jump into the courtroom because, like, it's stupid. I mean, I don't know. I guess if it says that, it's like equally stupid, but like it's.
But this is like, you're right. Like, this feels like a definite layup for the prosecution when
Right, and it
they
was like,
go on the stand. When the person, the accused goes on the stand.
that's why they shouldn't. That's why everybody in their right mind, their defense attorney goes, "Don't." And if you're smart and think you can, like, I think Scott Nelson went up on the stand. Maybe Zachariah, what's his nuts. There's a bunch of people like Brophy again. They get up done. They get up on there and they go, "Yeah, I got this under control." Like, they were making loud noises and I saw a barrel, sir. You weren't there. Did you kill your child, Shanda? You weren't there. Okay. He's dead though, right? I said you weren't there. Cool. Good
There's only
strategy.
videos of everything.
Let's go to the video.
Talking about the punishment outside. Paul says, "Wall sits question mark," and they say, "Push him until it looked like he is about to fall over, please." That was for running up and down the stairs, wasn't it, on April 14th?
If that's what it says, yes, sir.
So you wanted Paul to run him up and down the stairs until he was ready to fall over.
That's what the text says.
What crime?
So yes, if that's what the text says, which you did right, then yes, you wanted your older son to abuse and torture your younger son. If that's what the text says, that's a very long way to say yes.
Crime he committed to warrant being
Sneaky and deceitful.
physically driven until you fall over.
I have no idea, sir.
It's hard to justify torture in front of 12 right-minded men and women, ideally.
Not only them, but like imagine who knows how many people are in the courtroom.
Right, but you don't care about them. What you care about is a jury. Like,
I understand that, but I wouldn't want to talk in front of anybody,
Right.
let alone all the.
again, the nut in the middle of this cake that everything is built around. All the skins, all the layers. When you cut into it, you say, "Oh, wow, all the layers." The fucking core of it. Don't put yourself on the stand.
Right.
I mean, that's not necessarily the core. Like, obviously, the murder and the torture and all the evidence is the
The
core.
reason you're there.
But the shell around that peanut maybe is like, hey, don't bust yourself open. Like Mr. Planters doesn't walk into the Jif factory and go like, hey, what's this? Whoa, and fall in.
April 18th. He managed to come upstairs, yank the locks off of both the freezer and the pantry without you noticing, and he stole a bunch of crap that squished and rattled and did all sorts of stuff.
Wait a minute, I thought the pantry wasn't locked.
You slept through everything. KK, no devices until tomorrow, at least my lunch other than messaging, until at least my lunch other than messaging me, which would be very little.
Oh, your brother got food. No iPad for a day and a half.
Remember that?
That seems, yeah. The one kid steals chips and he can't eat for 3 years. The one kid falls down on his abuse duties and it's like, well, no Angry Birds, right?
I don't remember it, no, sir.
That's justice.
So, but if the text message said he yanked the locks off the pantry, then there were locks on the pantry as of April 18th, right?
If that's what the text.
Apparently.
Apparently. Allegedly. Allegedly.
426.
420.
Freaking caught him again. I want all the food in the fridge, freezer, or pantry, and those locked. So locking up all the food again on April 26th, correct?
If that's what it says.
Well, the cupboard still was never locked.
And what was in the cupboard?
The cans that he couldn't easily get into.
Right, all the canned food.
A bunch of canned stuff. There's a bunch of cans in there.
A
Bunch of cans?
So many cans.
So you're okay
Can I
with-
talk about my cans for a second? I just need a break from being portrayed as an absolute fucking demonic monster.
We got lots of cans.
Green beans. You guys like green beans? Green beans are one of my favorite canned vegetables. I remember back in
I'm getting into a bunch of canned stuff?
I mean, he got into it all the time.
So what, do you go to the drawer, get a can opener, open up the can, put it on the stove, warm the stuff up?
No, he didn't. He would eat it straight out of the can.
But that
Because he
didn't
was
worry you.
starving.
Huh?
That didn't worry you?
Well, when I discovered it, it did, but I just never put anything on that cupboard.
So, what caused this almost freaking caught him? And when all the food in the fridge and the freezer, the pantry, those locked up, April 28th.
I have no idea, sir. Without having it in there, I don't know what caused it.
It's likely related to the text before that, isn't it?
I don't know.
He keeps
Yeah,
pulling his
it is.
arms down, and that doesn't set off the camera alarm, so please watch him for that. Well, why did he have his arms up?
He was standing against the wall with his arms on his head.
So he'd have to do that for long periods of time, right?
Stand
like
there,
a
but he didn't have to have his
torturous
arms
thing,
up the
or-
whole time, but I'd set a time limit on how long he had to have his arms up.
And
I wonder if she was,
you're
like,
either- you're watching or watching an alarm
abused
to make
as a
sure his arm doesn't go down, right?
almost definitely.
And had to do these things.
Because like the old adage stands, like hurt people hurt people. But that's the thing. We can get into the nature versus nurture bullshit of it all. Some people just come out as a factory second. And the problem with that is, like, you don't know, like, the inseam of your Jordache knockoffs are going to hold until they don't. Yeah, there's no way she wasn't abused.
Right.
Like, in some form or fashion, yeah. But, like, that's the thing. You don't know when the seams are going to come out of those pants until you take a good run in them. So
Yeah.
no one knew, or I assume, or I hope, no one thought Shanda would be a murderer until she got up on her adult legs, passed the bar, and decided it was time to torture and kill a blood relative.
Yeah, because part of me is like, was she in like
From
a
the sound of
military at all, or military school at all?
It doesn't matter. Like, figuring out why people did what or how is just a...
I know, it's just what I like to know.
Right, but it's just, it always just burns up in the atmosphere of excuses. Because I would go so far as to say, like, because there's diminished capacity defenses for, like, people who boil their brains on drugs.
Right.
And a lot of people share this opinion with me. Like, you were in your right mind when you started doing meth, probably. The idea or the notion to do meth that you thought was a good idea means there was something wrong. But the fact that, because no one's in the dark about meth, right? It's not like you're, you know, a young babe out of the woods with your Red Riding cloak and your grandma basket, and a wolf comes out of nowhere and goes, hey, you know what methamphetamine is? And you go, by golly, no. And they like produce a dirty pipe and some like really shady looking crystals wrapped in tinfoil or however meth is. I think that's probably crack, but whatever. You know, illicit drugs come in very skeezy packages. To then go like, yeah, I'll double down on this. Like, I would say, yeah, drugs, alcohol, that's not a defense. We all know what that shit does to you. And unless you've been living under a Shanda Vander arc, you know exactly the fucking shit you can get into.
Drugs are
Guilty.
bad.
I'd be a hanging judge.
The response to you about from Paul about locking up the food, it's just he pulled the pantry door lock. What do you mean he just pulled it? Did he take it off? Paul says, yes, that part that attaches to the wall is dangling right now due to sticky locks. Okay, get another one on it right away. Last I saw, they were on the floor in a bag in my room. And you need to make him run up and down the stairs a ton for that, even in the cold and rain. So trying to take some food, not in his cabinet full of canned goods, and pulling the alarm, the pantry lock off, means he doesn't get food. It all gets...
Here's the thing, guys. Like, I used to get in trouble when, the day after Halloween or the night of or whatever, and like all that candy is sitting there. If you're, I don't know how it happened in your house, but like, this feels like whatever. Like, me and my brother would throw our candy out, we'd revel in it, and count it, we'd roll around, get it all organized, and do all the things that you like to do when you feel like you're rich as shit, right? At the end of that rainbow, my parents are always like, all right, let's throw it all into one big bowl and put it on the counter. I go, no, I've got ownership of the right stuff here. I don't want to mix it or whatever. So, of course, you sneak down and you eat a bunch of it. I get that. Like, I've never been so desperate where I had to sneak out of my room to, like, eat a waffle or, like, gnaw on a raw head of cabbage because I was starving to death. Like, I snuck down for the delicious treats, and I got in trouble by way of, like...
Hey, don't do that.
Hey, don't do that. I still got to eat. I still got to sleep in my own bed. They didn't throw hot sauce on my genitals or anything.
I never snuck out to do anything after bedtime because we had an alarm.
Sensors.
We had an alarm in our house, and if it would go when we all went to bed, when we were all upstairs, the alarm would go on, and if we went down the stairs, the motion sensors would go off, and the alarm would go off.
Right. So that's just like low energy Vander arcing your kids. But like, what the
Yeah, I couldn't go anywhere but my bathroom when it was nighttime.
Everybody's going to be on a spectrum somewhere. That doesn't necessarily feel like torturous because like it wasn't like your dad was coming in like putting a dog collar and a chain around your neck and then like gluing some motion detectors to your head that would, like police sirens.
No.
All gets locked away and he has to run the stairs, even in the cold and rain, right?
And being deceitful and sneaking.
Deceitful and sneaking.
He's a spiteful, deceitful little 13-year-old, and that's why he was locked away in a tower.
He was deceitful and sneaky a lot, wasn't he?
Yes, sir, he was.
Did it ever occur to you it's because he was hungry?
He was that way well before there was issues.
Well before I
the
starved him
stroke.
to death.
I mean, we always had issues with him over that. His stepmom warned me about that.
Well, before there were, you said...
Jury?
The
Anything?
stepmom.
So
Ask her.
here's a little more context. So part of the stuff that came up, like we missed it in the earlier footage, but the prosecutor's like, okay, so you never took him to the doctor? And she's like, no. His dad never gave me his insurance card. And here's the thing. I own a child. If I couldn't find his insurance card and he was sick, I would walk into the place, right? Sans insurance card with my sick child because I have care and affection and love for this individual. And I would go, what are your cash pay rates? Affordable? Cool. I've got a sick child. But I would probably rethink that if I've been starving to death and they look like an Ethiopian refugee, maybe.
You said well before the issues. What issues?
Before his first hunger strike, before any of this, he was extremely sneaky.
Did it ever occur to you that this is not the way to deal?
You ever play that PS1/2 game Sly Cooper? That's my son. I mean, God rest his soul. He's dead now, but he was sneaky as that raccoon when he was alive before he got killed by me. I guess I take that back.
To deal with a person who's been on a hunger strike? Locking up their food,
Real
locking up their
Mahatma Gandhi, her
access to
kid.
food, punishing them when they try to take food? Did that ever occur to you with your brilliant legal mind, as it was, that wasn't a good idea?
I don't know.
There's no law against starving your children. Oh, wait, why am I here? God damn it.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Can I go off the stand now?
I don't know what I was thinking for months upon months upon months. Just a fog where all I could do is text Paul abuse instructions, but now I'm like, did I? If that's what the text says.
It's the PTSD from my husband's stroke.
Like, God forbid she'd ever find someone like with a stubbed toe. Like if she walked into like the Sting house and saw Dell's toe broken and bleeding on the rug, she would just melt down critically.
April 27th, Timothy is no longer allowed anywhere near the fridge, freezer, or pantry, or any other place where food is.
Not the canned
Now it
goods.
sounds like he can't even get into his cabinet full of canned goods, right?
And those were his, especially.
I mean, that's what it said. We never put it, there was never a lock on that.
I mean, if that's
But
what
he wasn't allowed near it.
I mean,
Right.
if that's what it says,
I
I
mean,
don't.
I mean,
That was April
Just say
27th.
he wasn't allowed in the kitchen.
Just a few days before, somehow he manages to be 104 pounds, which, as we've heard from the testimony this morning, is still a good 30 pounds under average weight, right?
typically.
Well, my kids are, most of them are slim. Paul is,
Jury, special note. My kids are skinny. I lose weight quickly. And when I was starving him, he wasted away abnormally fast. Jury?
1 inch and 130. He doesn't even hit the 134 for a 5'8" person. And I lose weight extremely easily. So
Even when you're fed. So denying someone food when you know you've got this predilection seems cruel and, dare I say, unusual. But you're not a government body, so case dismissed, you fucking idiot.
he at 104, he looked average.
No.
Does this look average to you? Blah!
February 14th, I may need some help with it, but I am about to get a lock for the pantry door
Pause game.
and a lock for
You
the
like that
fridge
shit,
and
man?
both freezers. And then we won't leave any food out of those areas, and he won't have access to unlock those. Okay, Paul's response. Your response, if you disagree, please say so, but he is not going to win this. I may need some help with it, but I'm about to get a... Oh, that's the same.
Oh, sorry, I'm repeating the same thing
You were
again.
bound and determined that he wasn't going to win and get food without asking for permission first, weren't you?
No,
Even
I
if that
was-
meant locking up all the food.
No, sir, I was bound and determined he would stop being deceitful and sneaky
But by
He
not
is
eating.
not going to win this.
because he was being
Deceitful is such a grandiose term, right, for a 15-year-old. Because, like, you know, kids love to lie. They love to make shit up because they don't have a grasp of a lot of stuff because their brains are still developing. I mean, I get... It's a delicate balance, right, of control and give and take. And the harder you try to strangle someone, the more they're going to fight and kick and, like, that... And dumb people, even though she's smart, that's the thing. Like, I'm so tired of having to, like, try to define intelligence because I don't care if you can MacGyver a jet engine out of just a bucket of shit you find in your garage. If you kill someone or your story about how they died is so apathetic or, in this case, malicious, because you can't... This isn't... That's the thing. The attorney is trying to... Because she has no emotions, he's trying to be like, well, aren't you smart enough to know what'll happen? And that's the thing, of course. She is smart enough. All these punishments were thought up by her because she knew it would inflict the most pain upon her child.
Right.
She was doing it for emotional reasons. She's not so stupid to think that she obviously knew those chicken nuggets were cooked. She obviously knew what was going on
Yeah.
because she was perpetrating these horrible acts. It's just she didn't care. That's the why. Everyone's like, well, why? The why doesn't matter, right? Whether she was too dumb to understand that people need food, air, water, access to toilets, stuff like that to be a functional human being. She did not understand that. She knew that and wanted the suffering. Aren't you smart enough? We're all smart enough not to kill people.
He was being stubborn. He kept sneaking. He snuck stuff. We found out, actually, it was well before the stroke.
Sneaky snake.
Paul discovered it. This was before his first hunger strike. I mean, before anything.
For anything.
Paul went down to the downstairs bathroom one day, and I want to say it was at least 3 cupboards, if not 4 across. And I guess he'd opened one of the cupboards, and Timothy had snuck a bunch of stuff. I mean, there was wrappers and cans and all sorts of stuff. He did that. I mean, that was, I don't remember if it was before or after my oldest son's wedding, but it was around that time.
And again, your response to all of this, rather than to seek some professional help for him, because of these eating issues that he apparently has, is to restrict even further his access to food, right? And then watches every move on camera or with a motion sensor or with an alarm, right?
My response was to try to prevent him from being deceitful and sneaky.
Cool.
Like, this kid is a fucking, like, Wiggles villain. Or what was that show with the girl that sang, and there was, like, the really buff pilot guy, and Robbie Rotten was on it?
Oh, God.
Whatever that, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Like, Skytown, maybe? I don't know. It's before my kid's time. But she's describing him as if he's just like Robbie Rotten, skulking around the apartment with his big pompadour and fake plastic chin, like squirreling away like all this junk food that they keep on hand for some reason.
For the good kids.
I don't like, that's the thing. If my kids start, like if I found a bunch of wrappers or something in like my kid's room, I would go like, eat at the table, dude. I wouldn't go like, what food? Whoosh, 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 you know, and then we start breaking out the motion sensors and cameras. I would go, hey, we eat at the table.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go, hey, you don't eat for a month.
Right. I wouldn't have gotten this treatment, but I would have gotten in trouble for eating in my room. For sure.
Well, I get that. Like, I would get in trouble for eating in my room, too, because humans are slobs, and when I would sneak food into my room, I would typically spill it, so I get why that's a rule.
Right.
It's not don't eat. It's don't eat where you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like on the toilet, in your bed, under the couch. Those are inappropriate places
Under
to
the
eat.
couch.
I mean, when you're a child, I will eat on the couch because I'm a goddamn adult and I bought that couch.
April 28th, do you want to have just the one on the pants for tonight? When I leave, you will have to have both of them on so it doesn't get away with anything. So by April 28th, you were putting multiple alarms on his person, weren't you?
If that's what it says, I didn't realize he even owned more than one.
Yeah,
He shouldn't have any.
She's the sole breadwinner. She buys everything that enters that house. I had no idea that I had bought more than one alarm to attach to my child so he wouldn't move during the night. I was, whoop, what? Oh, maybe there was an Amazon pack and it was like
Yeah, it was
buy
a 10.
3-pack. Like, yeah, buy a 10-pack and it was a really great deal. And it fell out of my head just like everything else in regards to this.
Prime Day.
Like, she's, that's the thing. We talked about this before, but she's exhibiting cartoon Flintstones style amnesia where after she found her kid dead, like a masked burglar in like the striped prison jumpsuit bonged her on the head with a frying pan. She goes, whoa, I still remember law school. I remember my tech training. I remember all the cameras.
I'm so smart.
But did I kill my son? Ow, my head.
If that's what it says.
I only remember ordering one.
Okay, take off the arm one, but warn him that I will count how many times he moves his arm from the camera picking it up, and he'll be doing stairs for that tomorrow. That's at 11 o'clock in the evening on 4/28. So you're watching to see how many times he moved his arm when he was in his room?
He was allowed a certain number of arm movements. I don't feel like that's... No, I guess that is pretty fucking terrible to do to literally anybody. Like, even murderers in prison don't have to put up with the same bullshit restrictions you imposed upon a child who committed, I mean, to my knowledge, no crimes. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know.
Hey, he was sneaky
being
and deceitful.
sneaky and snacky. You know, that didn't make it into law books.
How many times he dropped his... Was he in his room?
I don't know. You
I'm
tell me. I
assuming
wasn't
your
there.
text
All I can do is read you the text message. It says, "Kay, take off the arm one," referencing back to the alarms, but warn him that I will count how many times he moves his arm from the camera picking it up, and he will be doing stairs for that tomorrow.
That
He's not sneaking around there, is he?
No, he was up against the wall and he was supposed to have his arms on his head for a certain amount of time.
Okay, so at 11 o'clock at night, he's
Sometimes.
supposed to be up against the wall, and you want to make sure that he knows you're going
Just really quick, this walks the line of a situation in my life. I had a girlfriend at one point whose dad was like this super strict military dude. He had one of those like big Jean-Claude Van Damme knots on his head that he just didn't ever give a fuck about and always put me off everything. But like she would tell me about her childhood. She's like, yeah, my punishment was oftentimes PT. And if you're not familiar, PT is what like military and police people call like physical training. I don't know, man. Like I can't. It's like self-imposed torture because like if they put you on a rack, right, and they're stretching you out till your legs and arms pop out of their sockets, like that's one thing because you go, help, I'm stuck here. But if someone's forcing you to like work yourself to death, like that's a whole like 10 levels above. Like someone puts a cage full of rats on your head and you go, help, I'm stuck with this cage of rats. But if they said, here's some wood and some steel mesh and some rats, we need you to build this cage on your head and then put the rats in and nail it shut. And then also like try flicking the rats and squirting them with spray bottles of abrasive liquids just so they'll eat your face a little faster. Radical.
You're going to know how many times he moves his arm. And if it's not satisfactory, he gets to do stairs for that the next day.
Yes, sir, apparently.
We live in the same reality, right, Shanda? God, her jowls are like, they've increased 30% since I brought it up earlier.
April 29th. What did he eat? I ate my burger already. Paul's response, he ate the crust. You remember what your response was?
I don't remember. I heard it the other day, but I don't remember sending that.
I heard it.
Go try to make him throw up, please.
Now, because he didn't ask not to not throw up. If he'd asked not to be compulsively vomited by having Paul, that dimwit, shove his finger down his throat, he wouldn't have. Hey, Paul, please don't make me throw up forcibly. Oh!
You asked, so.
You got it, dude. Why don't you just ask more often?
That was your response, wasn't it?
If that's what it says.
Don't remember?
No,
I'm going to
sir.
put that one in the don't remember category?
Just
Like
do
I
that
said,
up there.
Like I said.
Unfortunately, between January and the time he passed away, I don't have a lot of memories in general of Gabriel, of G, of Timothy, of Paul. I know that there's times that I went over to my in-laws' house and I don't remember a lot of that. It's not just this.
So the crime he committed here, just so we're
Right, but just because you forgot about what a fucking monster you were doesn't mean you weren't one, right? Like, if you intentionally, I don't know, there's no apt corollary. She did it. Like, you unintentionally murdered someone without starving them? Like, would you remember that?
So we're clear, it wasn't sneaking frozen chicken nuggets or a bag of chips. It was eating the crust of what sounds to be an already half-eaten burger or an eaten burger. And your response to that is go make him throw up, please.
If
That's what it says, and the crime was, again, it's being sneaky and deceitful.
Yeah, the crime was being sneaky. He snuck up on my already finished burger that I had left on the counter and went to work.
Right.
It's not like you were counting doubloons in your pirate-style treasure chest and you forgot to affix that old iron lock and he came and put on your tiara and walked around holding your scepter and wearing your strings of pearls, right? And then pawned them. He ate your garbage.
It was never about it wasn't about the food, it was because he
It was sneaking into my garbage and eating it. The crime for trying to survive is death.
every time we turned around, he was sneaking something. It wasn't.
Here's the thing. Every time her fucking nose turns red, I guarantee, and Tony, you'll back me up on this because you're that kind of guy. She's thinking, like, her mind is flashing forward to, like, her in prison and, like, her cellmates. It's not like she's not, like, thinking or going, like, oh, it's so sad, I'm thinking of a memory. She's going, like, the jury's not buying it.
I'm fucked.
And I don't know what that's the thing. I was just watching, again, to bring up this guy, reporting live from my couch, Paul. He was talking about, because there's some Chris Watts news out recently.
Oh.
And he, as well as I, and probably everyone else, cannot believe Chris Watts is still alive. Because when you take out children, especially those you're related to, and then all the details come out about how they were begging for mercy as Chris Watts was strangling the life out of his precious little girls. it makes me want to like pretend to be a lawyer or like be like, hey, and shake him myself. Of course, I'll be caught immediately, right? Because I'm in prison.
But like, worth it?
Right.
You'd be like the king in jail.
I'd be like, hey, guess who took out Chris Watts? And everybody go like, woohoo, ramen and hot chocolate and honey buns for this asshole.
Have some toilet wine on us.
But God, you know, by virtue of him being totally isolated, self-imposed, he's reading the Bible a lot, which is great.
Oh, he
right?
self-imposed himself to be isolated?
I mean, he didn't put himself in isolation or like solitary confinement, but he doesn't talk to anybody. He just keeps his head down. He reads his Bible. He doesn't talk in Bible study. And like, isn't that great? Like, I can't imagine being a part of a religion that's like most famous like trait is how many people pick it up after committing murder.
Right.
How many people are like, well, I decided to find the Lord after the murder, whereas before the book was there, right? Like Chris could have picked up the New and the Old Testament for one low price before murdering his wife, their 2 alive children, and the unborn fetus inside of his wife. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But they moved him from Colorado to wherever, and nobody's got him yet. But I'm not saying I'm hoping it happens, but if it does, I won't be like, oh no.
It wasn't just food. He snuck toys. Like I said, he snuck batteries.
Right. So he snuck not only things he wanted to keep himself alive with, but things he wanted to entertain himself with. Man, how did you survive? It sounds like you were the prisoner, Shanda.
May 5th, did Timothy work hard enough to sleep tonight so you and I can both get some sleep? He will still have to work super hard tomorrow to earn the same, but wanted to ask about tonight first.
Is there a question
You
in
want to
there?
explain how that falls in with your statement that the reason he wasn't allowed to sleep was because he would keep you guys awake?
I actually do remember that. Timothy asked if he could trade off not getting to sleep for something else, and I had him doing chores.
So Timothy
What?
asked if he could trade not sleeping, being denied a fundamental aspect of staying alive, for something. Hey, can I trade you a basic fundamental human need for literally anything so I can stay alive? Sure. I'm your mom. My heart isn't made of stone nor ice. What you can do is work until you are basically dead and collapse from exhaustion.
Yep.
I love you, Slugger.
A
Paul,
lot to unpack
drag
in
him to
that
his room.
sentence, so I think I'll just start at the end. So he had to ask for permission to sleep.
No,
Right?
this was because he had kept us up. Like I said before, he had kept us up, so he wasn't going to get to sleep.
What was he
and
doing?
he asked if he could trade that punishment for another punishment.
How is that not having to ask for permission to go to sleep, Miss Vander Ark?
It wasn't because it was a punishment. It wasn't anything about. He didn't have to ask to go to sleep.
Yeah,
But-
it's.
He
Couldn't
would
go to
if you
sleep.
said he was denied that right.
Yeah, you would have made sure he did not sleep.
Really quick, that is also, I'm going to lump that into cruel and unusual too, because I was offered that choice and got fucked over, which to the delight of my mother. So I'd gotten in trouble, and my mom says, hey, guess what? Because you got in trouble, here's what you can do. I can hit you physically. I will spank you, and it will hurt. I will inflict physical pain upon your bare ass after you get out of the tub. Or, since you're in control of your destiny, 3-year-old, you can either take the beating and see your friend across the street. Tony, I brought her up on this show before, my best friend at the time. I can beat your ass raw and you can see your friend. Or I'll skip the ass beating, but you can't see your friend. Cruel and fucking unusual, because my entire bath time was spent asking her questions about how many times I was going to be hit.
Right.
How hard.
It's like a traumatizing thing.
Yeah, so guess what I did? I signed up because I loved my friend so much and was willing to put up with physical punishment, abuse from my parents. I got out of the tub and took several hard whacks to the ass. I cried. I was dressed. I was wiping the tears from my face as we walked over to my friend's house, and guess who the fuck was not home? And a good jailer would have been like, hey, are you at home? I'm not going to tell you why, but there's physical abuse on the line. Click. So I took the abuse and received nothing. Cruel and unusual.
I'll do something else.
But it's still a funny story that's told at, family functions, I assume.
If you let me sleep, right?
It was trading a punishment for a punishment. That's.
It's cruel. It's very cruel. Malicious. Devious.
May 16th, where is Timothy? Paul's response, sorry, I was getting dressed. Timothy is on a 5-minute bathroom timer. Well, 4 now. And your response, why is he on a 5-minute timer? He doesn't get 5 minutes. He gets 60 seconds unless he needs to poop, then he gets 2 minutes. He only got to go to the bathroom for 1 minute or 2 minutes, depending on what he had to do?
I don't remember. I don't
Like,
remember.
why?
Actual prisoners get longer. What do you mean, why? That's the thing. All the whys are because she's sadistic.
I know, but like I get that, but all right.
Right, because why? Why was she so sadistic toward a child? Who knows? You aren't. I'm not. I can't think of anybody who would want to abuse a child to the point of death, but the why isn't important because he's dead. But it's the only problem is Timothy doesn't get to appeal his death sentence or,
Right.
Throw himself on the mercy of the court, who was Shanda, because she had no mercy and she murdered him.
I
With
don't
Paul's help.
remember ever enforcing that, but obviously I sent it. But
I don't remember
Didn't
enforcing
that
it.
strike you as with everything else that happens is just cruel and unusual to tell a child?
Someone say that earlier?
Heck, to tell anybody that you only get a certain amount of time in the bathroom? That doesn't strike you as cruel? It's not argumentative.
The one time he objects.
She can answer the question, but certainly the way it's phrased is an argument. There's no question.
It's an argument.
It's an argument here, Judge, with a question mark at the end.
No, I really want to know if she thinks it's cruel to put somebody on a bathroom timer, Joe.
And the relevance of if she thinks it's
Look how colorful.
Yeah, he's so he looks like a little toad, sitting behind a giant rock. Like he was just like the smallest toad in the Shire got crowned king, and now he's like, well, here I am at this desk made for a fox or whatever.
it's simply argumentative, Judge.
But look at these the 3 texts made it to a single page.
Amazing.
God damn!
He's hard of seeing.
Courtroom and other legal municipalities are keeping Canon inkjets in business.
I don't think it's argumentative. It would tend to give some insight, I suppose, to her intent.
Did you see that little face he made?
If Mr. Johnson, you would like to clarify or have it clarified.
Oh, you know what? Now that I'm seeing this, we're seeing him look over here. I think the defense attorney is over here.
I'm saying that's what I thought when we watched this the other day. I'm pretty sure the defense was over there and the jury's on the other side.
Typically, it's reversed, and I just keep whatever. I mostly listen to these more than watch them, so I just always assume the defense is over there too. But it doesn't matter whether she's looking at her defense and pulling a brophy or looking at.
Because, right, the defense was
sneaky eye.
on that side.
I
And
would say her eyes are guilty of being sneaky, and so no Visine for the month.
Clarify
Maybe
what
the
her
nose spray, though.
definition of cruel or unusual
The
is, so
definition
that
of
we're all on the same page with the witness. That's fine, but I think the question can be asked, so the
Thank you.
objection is overruled.
Thank you.
So your response to that, well, I want my question answered. Is it cruel to make a child go to the bathroom on a timer?
Let's pull a Jim Roush. What's a lot, right? You chat a lot. What's a lot? 4 or 5 hours a day? I don't know. Subjective. Catherine Reed.
yes, sir.
And you did that, right? If it says so. I do remember that.
says.
It was cruel.
May 17th, before I left, when I was having you sign into the camera and turning on the sound for the camera so you would hear the alarm if it went off. And by the way, I told him yesterday that if he did that in the garage again, he would sleep in the garage for a night. So let him know that he would be doing that as soon as the temperatures are safe enough for him to make him do it. So you were
Maybe not cruel at all. You were going to wait until the temperatures were
Considerate. Yeah.
survivable, at least, to make him
Michigan.
sleep. Where most people keep their noxious chemicals, dangerous automobiles. Sometimes people throw a drink fridge in there.
You were going to have him sleep in the garage for a night.
I actually remember that text message, and I was
Whoa, I can't believe she remembered something. Guys, 25 minutes in, her memory kicked in.
frustrated. I never would have done it, but I was frustrated. I type really fast, and I...
Here's the thing about empty threats. You make them toward the person. I make empty threats all the time to my kid. Outlandish stuff that could never happen in any form of reality. But he doesn't know that. That's what empty threats are for, is to like put a little shock and fear into someone so they'll clean their room or finish their dinner or whatever. Like, I wouldn't text Krista a threat and then neither of us talk about it to our son, because that is not an empty threat. It's a conspiracy at that point. It's a conspiracy to commit a crime.
Yes.
An empty threat is just that. If I go, if you don't clean your room, I'll throw all your toys into the sun. I couldn't even if I wanted to.
And I admit I have a bad habit of saying stuff when I'm upset,
Oh, you think?
and then calming down later and it being totally different. But I do
I don't know
remember
about that.
and it never happened.
Here's the thing. If you're a thinking, caring, intelligent individual, you'll recognize that trait and work toward its dissolution. You don't double down on it and tell your dumb son Paul to keep torturing the fuck out of his little brother.
He got time too, right? I'm pretty sure. I'll look.
I'm sure he did, but it's like nothing. Like
Right.
it's the Go John versus Gypsy. But in this case, Gypsy is Paul, but it's a bad metaphor.
Yeah.
Whatever. They're both guilty. One got off lighter than the other.
It didn't happen? What didn't happen?
And if Paul hits up
Did- did-
OnlyFans,
did he make
Matt will
him sleep in the
know.
garage?
No.
Oh. Thank you for that. Same day, 12:53. Did he heat the pancake in a cup? Otherwise, it's just powder and it's not safe to eat without being heated either. When it actually says, did he hear the pancake in the cup? I assume he meant heat the pancake in the cup, right? Do you remember this text exchange?
Vaguely.
Paul's response, no, he just ate the powder. And your response, that could make him sick, the dummy. Tabasco in his mouth and make him swallow, and lots of it, and do it every 30 minutes until you leave. This was May 17th.
So the punishment for, again, eating pancake powder, which I don't think can make you sick, is the forcible ingestion of Tabasco every 30 minutes.
Do you remember this exchange?
I don't remember the Tabasco because I never called it. I said Tabasco.
It said, Tabasco in the mouth and make him swallow, and lots of it, and do it every 30 minutes until you leave.
Yeah, I'm more of a Louisiana Red person. Like, we're a Louisiana Red sauce household. Tabasco, what's that?
I don't remember that being a part of it. I remember part of the conversation, but I don't remember that part of it.
Well,
But
Timothy obviously didn't like Tabasco, did he?
We didn't have any Tabasco sauce. That's why it doesn't make any sense. We had hot sauce, but we didn't have Tabasco sauce.
Right, but like if you say blow your nose at a Kleenex and you hand someone just a generic tissue, no one would be like, whoa, this isn't Kleenex, it's generic. I don't know why I would say Kleenex. It was like tissue. But, like, oh, God damn it.
Okay, so the punishment for eating pancake in a cup is Tabasco or some type of hot sauce in the mouth. Is that right?
Sneaking something dangerous, if that's what...
It wasn't a sneak. He was supposed to heat it. He didn't, apparently, because she knew about the pancake in the cup. It wasn't a sneak, right? He just ate something less than usual.
I mean, if you're asking what he was punished for, it would be for sneaking.
You were concerned for his well-being.
Yes, sir.
That's why you're having this text exchange, right?
Yes, sir.
You're really concerned for him at that point.
Yes, sir. Those pancakes in a cup had, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, but I think they had eggs in them.
That could make him sick, the dummy. Do you always refer to him as a dummy when you're worried about him?
No, sir.
Well, not always when I'm worried about him will I call him a dummy. Sometimes if he's breathing with his mouth open, I'll slam his mouth shut and say he's a dummy then, but I wasn't worried about him. So no, not all the times when I worry about him, but a lot. Jury?
Anybody?
Dummy?
You can look at the text messages. I hardly ever said anything like that.
Hardly
got
ever
them all
said
in a
anything
binder,
like that. It's not a good idea to call a child a dummy, is it?
I never would to him. I was frustrated, like I said.
It's like my empty threats. I would aim them at Paul, and I would badmouth them to Paul, my other son. Like if I had two kids and I was telling one of them the other one was a dummy, and I was like, is that... It's like people who love religion, right? And they go, well, I'm very religious. There's a lot of gray areas to people in religion.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to do a lot of stuff, but people do it because, like, meh, who gives a fuck, right? Like, they live in the spirit of the law rather than the letter. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. I don't know, man.
Later on in that same text exchange, Paul says he also crapped himself. And your response is, what? In his pants? Seriously? Paul, I told him to take
No, he crapped in his shirt.
a 5-minute shower. Make him do the work in the garage with nothing on below the waist. Just make sure the garage door stays closed.
So the people can't see his emaciated frame and his exposed genitals. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, not only will she not look at his nude body, she doesn't want the neighbors seeing it. So, yeah,
Right.
maybe
Consider it.
yeah. If I ever had to work like slave labor in a camp under harsh conditions as I wasted away, I'd be thankful for a closed garage door. Mm-hmm. Those are typically cool, welcoming environments.
And then he can stand down against the wall with nothing on below the waist until you leave. Just please make sure G does not go downstairs at all while he's standing there like that.
It would be inappropriate for me to see his genitals, but I want you to watch him as he cleans the garage nude from the waist down and then do a bunch of squats. Again, don't let the kid see it, the little kid, Gabriel. Right. Don't let me see it because, like, gross, that's inappropriate and awkward. But I want you, Paul, to never let your eyes leave his nude frame. Not weird.
Here's my, obviously there's a lot of questions to this, like why, but this kid, this younger child, like, where is he this entire time all this is happening?
Around. He's like...
And where's the dad? If he, great, like, yes, he's in a wheelchair.
Do you think that anybody, like, if everybody leaves Shanda as soon as possible, Timothy's dad, everybody before him, the only person she could snag was someone born with a disability who then had a stroke and couldn't leave.
Yeah.
Everybody was fleeing her like rats off a sinking ship, except for those physically unable to. Her stroked husband, Paul, Tim, and Gabriel. G-man, whatever. But he was only like between 1 and 3, so it's not like...
Oh, all right.
He's not like a major player in this.
I didn't know if he was
NPC.
like how old he was. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
No, he's a non-entity essentially.
Break that up again. So make him do the work in the garage with nothing on below the waist. So his punishment for having an accident was that he had to do chores without pants and underwear on, right?
If that's what it says, I don't.
Here's the earmarks of a good parent, right? They'll look at an accident, a miscommunication, something that isn't anybody's fault because of an oversight. No ill will or malignant intent was there. And the really smart and compassionate of us will go like, God damn it, what a fucking idiot. Now I am slightly or mildly inconvenienced in some form or fashion, and you are to blame for something that no one saw and actually sort of harmed all parties involved. Right? Does that sound like a reasonable thing to do? Punishing an accident or a miscommunication or a misunderstanding? Kind of fucking shitty. Really fucking shitty, actually. Because would you want your accidents held against you as if they were intentional? No, you would want the benefit of the doubt. Fucker.
I don't remember this.
That's pretty humiliating, isn't it?
I mean, he was by himself. It wasn't.
Paul was there staring at his genitals. It's in the text.
Yeah, he was there.
I mean, I don't remember this at all, sir.
You don't remember that at all?
No, sir.
How nice.
You did
But you still tried to sort of backpedal it, and halfway you sort of gave up and then said, I just don't remember. Mm-hmm. Well, then why the half-cooked excuse, bitch?
the presence of mind at that time says, just make sure the garage door stays closed because you don't want anyone seeing him doing that, do you?
Well, I didn't want the garage door open ever because we had a lot of stuff out there. So.
A lot of
Your
what?
nude kid.
A lot of nude children working in your garage forcibly? Yeah, I'd want to keep that under wraps because, people might misconstrue you as like a heartless bitch.
And then he can stand against the wall with nothing on below the waist until you leave. So in addition to cleaning the garage, then he has to stand against the wall with no pants and underwear.
So from the waist up, he had like the shirt, the tie, the jacket, the whole nine, the lapel pin, nothing below it.
Correct?
I mean, if that's what it says, I don't remember this.
Please make sure G...
I should have called this episode, if that's what it says. Mm-hmm. The fucking Shanda Vander arc disaster.
Does not go downstairs at all. Don't remember that either.
No, sir.
Didn't want, but you physically typed these words into your phone and sent them to Paul to make sure that G doesn't see Timothy like that, right?
And is it true you don't like thug music, but like to call it rap crap?
Do you know Michael
Yes,
Dunn? See, one of your first husbands?
His clothes need to be washed right away, but he gets to be without anything below the waist for a while today. Did he say why the heck he did that? And Paul's response is he said he didn't want to disturb anyone. He had to ask for permission to go to the bathroom, didn't he?
No, sir, not usually. If he was on the wall, he did.
But if he didn't, who would be there to time his piss and or shit?
Right.
Right? If he just can take a piss, like my son, I don't know why he needs to tell me. I don't ask him to. He's like, I'm gonna go poop. I go, cool. Didn't need to know, right? I'm not gonna time you. You could be in there as long as you want and do whatever you want on the toilet. But I can see if I were, some sort of demonic hellspawn, I would want him to tell me when he shits so I could start that stopwatch.
Because you're supposed to be standing still.
Like most kids are really good at doing.
If he's on the wall, he has to ask to go to the
So let's
bathroom.
get back to your statement to to Detective.
I can't think of a more futile, unless you're a fucking monster and totally just break the will of the child. I can't imagine, like, my kid won't sit still, like, for bribery, for empty
Nothing.
threats, anything. You just sort of have to deal with it. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to levy a punishment for a child having energy? Existing? Like making noise, moving around? Like, sure, I'll cut it off at some points, like when he's screaming his head off like a maniac for no reason. I'll go, hey, let's knock that off.
Jump on the trampoline.
No, I say, jump on the trampoline, go down the slide, play with your toys. I don't go up against the wall with squats and no pants for 40 minutes.
Detective Peasky. You didn't tell the detective about the warm bath, but you told him that you
That didn't
realized how
happen.
skinny he was the night before and threatened to take him to the ER if he didn't eat. That's not true, is it?
No, sir.
And you didn't make him a piece of toast and give it to him and make him eat it, did you?
No, sir. I have no idea why I said that. I was
Because I was lying and I didn't want it to seem like I'd starved my child to death. Because here's another thing, just for a little more context. There is also, in addition to the interrogation and all this courtroom footage, there is the body cam footage of when, I can't remember if she made Paul call 911 or if she did, but like it's a whole like, oh, hey, like, this thing's going on, not really urgent, but come over whenever. And so when the cops show up and Tim's dead, and they're like, well, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. Paul, what's going on? What do you think's going on? He's like, I don't know either. Like,
This isn't suspicious.
like, yeah, she pulls that, like, it kind of reminds me of Sarah Boone because, like, she's like, oh, I forgot. Oh, it was a big accident. But she's like, when she can put on her fake crying act, she go like, he always wore baggy clothes. He always wore baggy clothes. I didn't know he was wasting away and now he's dead. That's a fine story until they uncover the binder of text that said, pull his pants off and make him do physical labor in the garage,
Right.
strip him nude and make him do horrifying things, and after that, dunk his dick in hot sauce, but not Tabasco. I'm not going to drag that name brand
I've
through the
never
mud.
said Tabasco.
I always would get generic hot sauce because I'm not going to spend the extra money on something that's just going under my kid's genitals.
I'm not going to eat it.
He's not going to taste it with his dick. Fucking bitch.
I was traumatized. I actually didn't come out of the first month I was in jail. It was.
Good.
I wish the Lydia that used to work for the public defender's office visited me, and she said it was pretty obvious that I was under severe trauma. I didn't.
Right, but imagine like the trauma you put your child through. Like you at least knew cognitively that you had committed a crime and were going to prison and were prepared for a shitty situation because prison sucks, right? It's not like you were living with your father. He shipped you off to you, and then you made his life a living hell for legitimately no reason. There is no why, aside from the fact that you're a broken psycho. So what is worse, right? Knowing cognitively, you're going to a prison with a bunch of other criminals who are going to make your life hell, or walking into the arms of a mother and then being treated like a prisoner.
Right.
I was so, they were mean to me. All the prisoners, they're mean to me. I was traumatized because of the murdering I perpetrated.
Allegedly.
It's all, not allegedly. It's almost as fucking, who did it? I can't remember the specific person, but somebody, a murderer, like part of their defense was that they developed PTSD from committing the murder. And their defense brought this up as like a legitimate
Thing?
anything. Like, my client hasn't been able to sleep since he committed that murder.
My God.
Oh, really? The person they killed can't ever wake up. And they have a reaction to murdering them? Oh, poor baby. Jesus Christ. Let's get this guy a Cinnabon and a large Coke for all the trauma he had to endure while snuffing out another irreplaceable human life. Jury?
I didn't eat for my first month.
This was while they were
Now you know what Timothy felt like for the 6 months?
searching your house on July 6th while you were sitting in your house.
Yes.
That's how she's crying for her own well-being, right?
Yeah.
Kind of lends credence to my point, right? Because every time she cries and her nose gets red, like, you know, a W.C. Fields drunk, it's like basically the shit that's happening to her.
So you're thinking, oh, I better tell him. Yeah, he looked a little skinny last night, and I thought I should take him to the ER
But
and
it
then make
didn't.
some toast with butter on it and watched him eat it, and he walked away. None of that happened, did it?
No, I don't even remember that.
But you had the presence of mind to lie to the officer at the time when he was investigating.
Like I said, I was traumatized. I don't remember this, sir.
Right, but this is before the traumatized. This is before the trauma of prison, right? The only trauma you had experienced until that point was finding your son's dead body. Ah, what a surprise! After months of horrifying torture, he died? This, really quick, this case sort of speaks to the resiliency of the human organism. Because if you've ever gone through life and experienced like pet ownership, you'll realize that some pets are harder than others and some are very delicate. Or maybe you're a plant person and there are some modes and fashions of life that are extremely delicate and take expertise and cultivated, I don't know what to call it, like an environment or whatever, like orchids, for instance.
Oh,
They need extremely precise conditions. And in some places, those are exactly what Mother Nature produces. So like when humans get big nuts and they walk into a jungle and they go, look at all these beautiful flowers, I'm going to bring some home. They die immediately. It's because you're too stupid to realize the totality of care, right? And so some organisms will die when one thing is changed. And others will cling to life for months when everything is against them. So the fact that, like, this wasn't a knife or a gun. It wasn't like a quick, like, pow, you're dead. Like, this was a fight for survival from a hardy organism that was able to, to live beyond such abuse that any other animal of a lower order would have died immediately.
Right. Yeah.
The human spirit is so resilient, it took months of Shanda to snuff it out. And Paul.
He wouldn't come upstairs when she said goodnight. She walked down to the last couple of stairs and asked for a hug and a kiss. That didn't happen either, did it?
I don't remember. I mean,
I wouldn't walk up to the person abusing me, like my jailer, and be like, kisses,
Right.
good night.
Yeah.
not that I don't remember.
In fact, you're acknowledging that video that shows you dragging him into a small room, looking like he does when he dies, calling him a dummy for breathing with his mouth open, is actually what you did to him the night before he died, right?
If that's what it shows. I don't remember, sir.
I would remember dragging my poor kid's limp, nearly lifeless body and tossing him into a small room.
Yeah.
Especially if the next day he died. Because, like, there are some things I do, like, we all, I'm sure, if you're a parent, you do, and you feel bad about it later. Like maybe a little too loud, or you go, you do something, you take their toy away, you say, and you feel bad because you go, maybe I overdid it a little bit. And I'm not talking, like, wide swaths of abuse, right? You just like sometimes like my kid will do something and it'll be the right type of thing where he's just overtired and I'm at my wit's end and I go, enough or whatever. And I go, you see that frown. I can't even like talk to you about it, but like seeing that little frown appear on his face makes me want to die. And the fact that she's like, I can't.
Your statement to Detective Peasky continues. She got ready for work in the morning and went to check on him. She said his name, but he did not respond. She put her hand on his chest and he was not breathing. She remembered her 20-year-old son, Paul, helping her get him off the bed. That was all a lie, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
You know where he was when you found him that morning, right?
In the closet.
In the small room. And prior.
Right. We say small room to make it feel like less of a sting, but it was not even a walk-in closet. It's a coat closet. The kind of closet that you forget that you have because it's so small and the things you put in there are worthless.
To that, you told Officer Stephanich, well, it was about 5:30, he fell out of bed and I had to go and put him back into bed. Also a lie, right?
Yes, sir. I have no idea.
Because there's no bed in the closet. Like, there's barely enough, like, he barely has enough room to turn around, standing comfortably. How would he fall off a bed?
Why I said that, sir. Like I said, I was traumatized.
Again, since I watched the document, I'm bringing up the Tower of London a lot because I just watched a documentary on it. There was a cell specifically built for like this torturous situation. It was too small to stand and it was too narrow to lay. So you either had to sit with your like legs crossed and your back hunched or curl up in the fetal position on cold stone. And that was like, they put people guilty of treason and murder in there. I did not hear a single instance when Tony Robinson's talking about the castle, you know, the Tower of London, where like some chips were stolen and they threw his ass into the pit of dire, abysmal death. Didn't happen. And that's the thing. Medieval, you used to get killed for stealing bread and they wouldn't do this. It's happening.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. What is Greta Thunberg, Pippi Longstockings on trial for? Murdering her 15-year-old child who was stealing and deceitful.
Yeah, it was
supposedly
a sneaky scamp who
just wanted to
Shanda
eat.
just didn't like and wanted to kill slowly.
Yeah.
And, really quick. Not really quick, because nothing is. That I do anyway. But this is one of those things where like there's another one out there. I can't remember his name. I watched his interrogation along with the Federico Gondola. He's another African-American gentleman who it wasn't his like biological daughter. It was his girlfriend's daughter, but they abused her to fucking insane degrees and then she died. Why did I start telling this story? God damn it. There was a corollary there, but I've drank too much and I can't remember it. If it comes up again, I'll bring it up. But the moral of the story, I think, of that is like, it's just, I don't know. I lost it. I was trying to figure it out, but I lost it. I'll come back to it if I remember.
We'll circle back.
I'll get to that later.
You told Detective Peasky that Timothy stated he was on a hunger strike 2 weeks ago. This is 2 weeks before he dies. He goes on a hunger strike.
Yes, sir.
Did he go on a hunger strike?
Yes, sir, he did.
4 years previous. But again, like for what? Like against what?
Yeah, right. Like why
what
would
was he protesting?
there's no 15-year-old boy, not
anyone,
like right, anyone, but like you're like that. Those years you're going through like so much that you want to eat a lot. I feel like
the thing is, like, people do non-violent forms of protest
Sure.
when they are of their right mind, have a track record of being an adult behind them, and they're doing it as a show of non-violent or passive resistance.
yes.
A child is not going to stop eating to protest his stepdad's stroke.
Right.
Show me the text message between you and Paul where it says that he's on a hunger
Just
strike.
throw this binder on the desk.
I don't know if I ever texted him about it, sir. We talked about it, but I never texted. I mean, if it's not in
I
there.
mean, you texted about literally everything else and like the excruciating details of the torture, but you never brought up the hunger strike via text? Sus.
I don't. We didn't text about everything.
You never texted Paul about him being on a hunger strike.
No, I would have told him that in person. I wouldn't have said that over text.
The cameraman's like, look at these goddamn pages, people.
Somebody text.
I realize there's only anywhere between 3 and 4 texts per page, but look at all the pages.
Look at how big those rings are.
I love, like, when a binder gets big enough and one side of the rings are flat, that means business. That means fucking
That's
serious
like a 5-inch
shit.
binder.
Yeah. Like,
I just bought Elliot a 1-inch binder for school, and the rings are like so
yeah, this is
tiny.
absurd. Like, it's a farce that is only... I mean, it's only like saving grace is the absolute absurdity of it. Because it's a horrifying situation from soup to nuts.
Yeah.
Everything about it is horrifying and tragic and awful.
But look at those rings.
But look at the goddamn rings, people. If we cannot point out the absurdity of it all, I don't know what we're doing here.
That would have been important.
But Paul has to watch him for the day when you're not home, right?
Every
Yes,
day,
sir.
it
So it's
seems
Paul's
like.
responsibility to get him some food, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Did
while
he?
he's on a hunger strike, instead of talking about the hunger strike, the response to that is give him 4 slices of bread with hot sauce on it, and if he eats them and waits 30 minutes, he can eat 4 without. Right?
I don't know what day that was, sir. If you're.
Does it
I'm
matter?
not sure what date you're referring to my cruel and unusual punishment, sir. So without a date, I can't even tell you if it was cruel or unusual. Jury?
Thoughts?
Let's find it and make
Guys?
sure.
I mean, we
He's
tried to,
eating
just
bread
because he
with-
wasn't eating, we tried to feed him. That was.
With hot sauce and
the best
bread.
solution you come up with is force him to eat the bread with hot sauce on it. That was the response to the hunger strike?
I don't remember. I mean,
I don't know if we're going to get to it, but one of her weak ass, stupid defenses was like, Timothy loves spicy food. And she even, if she says it, I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it, but she says, like, even when he was in utero, she doesn't like spicy food, but developed a taste.
Yeah.
So, like, what a fun thing to do, right? Like, he loves spicy food, so I decided to torture him with the thing that he, to
Like-
my backwards ass, illogical story, loved.
it wasn't. We tried to feed him. That's
No.
all I remember.
All I remember is trying to feed him, but there were locks everywhere. And I was like, trying to get the fridge open, but I was like,
wasn't working.
Paul, and everything was a blur. And then I would go to work and I start texting Paul.
So when would that hunger strike have started?
End of June, late June.
When was the stroke?
Again, you never looked at the bone thin photo to see what kind of condition he was
Not to
in.
distract too much from the stream, but I thought you would like to know, amongst others tonight. Well, of course, the damn heart
Fred
is in the way.
Newman, who was the voice of Skeeter on Doug.
Oh.
I mean, you know me, Ryan. I'm a fan of a good 90s reference, and Doug is one of those things that is
Hell
squarely
yeah.
in my wheelhouse.
Pork chop and that igloo.
Skeeter, and they'd listen to the beats.
Oh, yeah.
That's nature's candy.
Then before he goes on
Banging
this
on
hunger
a
strike,
trash can.
right?
Yes, sir.
And did it ever occur to you, like, he's on a hunger strike now, and I know
I mean, since you brought it up, Ryan, did you see the CBS reboot of like Latter Day Doug, where like Patty gets a haircut and they're all in high school and like Roger's different? And I was like, hi, like Nickelodeon got the concentrate and we got the watered down bullshit. Drop a link, love to chat it up. A link? Want
To
a link
what?
to something? Like a Discord? Krista, link in the Discord. Mike,
Like-
I'm on it. If that's what you want, I'll fucking give it to you.
I know Paul had sent me that text about he's bone thin. I think we actually need to feed him. We need to actually feed him. It never occurred to you that maybe you should go back and look at that.
Oh, yeah, it was ABC, because ABC was owned by Disney. Not Disney. CBS was Disney. ABC. Yeah, whatever. Moral story is, it was a Saturday morning cartoon. And you probably are the only one. Oh, StreamYard. Man, I don't use StreamYard. What do I?
What is a StreamYard?
StreamYard. What am I, Music Biz Marty? Like, I'm not going to invite people up on a fucking panel to talk about lolcows. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've looked into StreamYards, but I've never, I don't know, like the free thing. I've seen that little duck with the headphones on so many lolcow videos.
Oh, that's what StreamYard is the duck thing?
Yes.
Oh.
It's where, like, you can call people up on panel and have private chat, and Marty does all of his sneaky shit, and Cyrax goes, give my channel back, Marty. That's what I associate StreamYards with.
Yeah,
but
no, sorry.
I appreciate it, Mike. We'll talk. We'll talk. Get into our Discord.
Look at that text message now. and see
ABC
what
was
conditions
Disney.
at the time.
No, sir.
ABC was Disney, but like Nickelodeon owned Doug. Did they buy the rights? Ryan, I'm so confused. This is cruel and unusual television.
Me, when something's out of sight, it's out of mind. Once that's scrolled up, I don't scroll back to the text messages.
Out of
Right. So if I spew vitriol at my 15-year-old son via my 20-year-old son to cause abuse, as soon as I, out of sight, out of mind, I'm scrolling, Facebook. Oh, Instagram. I could use a pair of shoes.
sight, out of mind. That applies to Timothy as well, doesn't it?
That applies to a lot of things, sir. It's not just, I mean, if
Not
Little Man
just
wasn't,
Timothy.
no, if Little Man was not in front of me right then I wasn't necessarily thinking about him. Paul wasn't.
Okay, not to digress. Like, as I'm watching this, and then, Mike brought up StreamYard, I have thought and toyed with the idea, again, because I've looked into it. I've toyed with the idea of, like, opening up a StreamYard, but, like, I don't know, man. I would have to
That
be like,
opens a lot of doors.
because you'd have to, like, give the, whatever. I understand, like, there's a bunch of shit going on, and whatever. You want to talk about lolcows? I might do, like, a theme show where that might happen. It's fun. I get it.
Paul wasn't.
June 19th, you can do his bread with hot sauce at any time, though preferably sooner rather than later. Put more hot sauce on than you did yesterday, please. And he has to eat at least 3 slices with hot sauce, but he may have more as long as they have plenty of hot sauce on him. That was June 19th. Was he on his hunger strike then?
I would assume not. I don't know.
I would assume
don't know.
not.
I don't have an exact date.
That was about 2 weeks before
Oh, I'll be damned. There you go.
he passed away.
Ryan, you know so much about things that I possibly know very little about. Not possibly.
Oh, PB&J Otter. Oh my God, I used to watch that.
I did not watch PB&J Otter. I wasn't a Disney Channel person because I didn't have cable. I was told we were poor when we were actually just cheap.
And that's when you said the hunger strike started.
Oui.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. But
Did it occur to you that the hunger strike was because he didn't enjoy eating bread with hot sauce on it?
did it occur to me? No, sir, because he did it way back in January, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
June
here we go.
24th, how is everything? Did you make him eat his bread with hot sauce?
We might be getting to the part where she
When
justifies
I
his love
was
of hot sauce.
pregnant,
Yeah, and that's when it's the he gets 4 with hot sauce and then 4 more 30 minutes. That was June 21st. You don't know if the hunger strike started there then?
I don't know, sir. Like I said, I can only guess.
Like I said, I mean, if you see it, it probably happened. I don't remember.
like, and I
the
know,
only reason I remember.
right, she's gonna say it, because when I was pregnant, I had cravings of enchiladas and chocolate milk. But now our child does not do either. So I don't know if the
So maybe we should punish him by making enchiladas for him.
Yes. Oh, it's on Disney. I wonder if our son would like PB&J Otter. It's on Disney Plus. I used to love that show.
He doesn't like quality
Anything.
things yet.
Yeah.
I remember the 3 weeks the first time around is because it was right after the stroke, and he started eating again before the end of January.
Right. Did you think he's on a second hunger strike now?
For
Question
I
mark.
really need to get him some treatment for this.
I want the coffer to have a cousin who vomits in courtrooms. He's like a, whatever. Like he's a guest star, not obviously on the court coughing channel. You wouldn't want the vomiter everywhere. But
That'd
like
be a little much.
every 8th or 9th episode, you have the you go,
Ugh.
Did I think along those lines? No, sir.
no
he
sir.
admitted to being, he told us very early on after the stroke that he was taking advantage of that because we didn't have the extra set of eyes with my husband. and he was being difficult.
Before the stroke, he was wheelchair bound and would have to crawl.
The dad. Yes.
Yeah, he would have to crawl up and down the stairs.
Yes.
Like a street dog in Mexico run over by a truck, its back legs. That was the guy you were trusting. And then he had the stroke and was totally useless. He had to lean on Paul for all the torture. Makes sense.
He actually, Timothy told me that his dad and stepmom used to let him get away with everything. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I've always been the stricter parent anyway, and he told me on multiple occasions that if he thought that if he pushed me hard enough that I would just quit making him do stuff and I wouldn't make him cooperate.
All right, well, here's an exchange from June 29th. Maybe this will shed some light on the hunger strike.
Maybe this will shed some
situation.
light.
Trust me, I know he's thin.
Trust me.
Trust me, I know he's thin. That was your text, no? Paul's. You sent
I
Paul
don't
that
remember the
right?
text, but I mean...
You don't remember that one either?
Why
If it's there.
Trust me,
Why
I know
would
he's
you?
thin. That being said, he told me a week and a half ago that he wanted to be thin to make me feel bad for punishing him. You don't get to grump at him for that, though I already lit into him plenty for it. Is this while he's on his hunger strike?
I mean, I would assume...
Again, since he's verbal, we don't... Because there are some cases out there, and I've seen them, where like... Because there's one, I can't remember, I think she was from South America. I want to say Brazil, but it wasn't Brazil because she spoke Spanish. She had an autistic, nonverbal child that was, I think, 12, 11, 13, something like that, who she just got fed up with and decided to take to a canal and push him in. She did like a dry run. And the problem is that where she pushed him into was in the view of a video camera with excellent resolution. So this was during like 2020-ish COVID because she had a mask on, they had to take it off. So it's her, this detective, and this translator who was there because sometimes she would slip into Spanish. And they go, "What's up? My kid, he's gone. I don't know, well, maybe where he is." And so then you see this, like, if you watch the right edited video with the interrogation and everything, it's just her with this kid. And like, I don't want to like draw or like use prejudicial language or whatever, but we've all seen people with certain disabilities where like they're doing things with their hands, they're not looking anywhere specific, and then you can just tell something is not normal or average or whatever. So it's just this kid by a canal, and the mom goes, "Whoop," and then you see him struggle for life, and she goes, "Ah," and runs around a little bit, feigning, and then just leaves as he drowns.
Oh my God.
But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because even if he somehow survived and somebody found him and pulled him out, he wouldn't be able to be like, "My mom did this."
Right.
He was nonverbal.
Right.
Timothy was verbal. I want to know why no one is talking about, or at least trying to get information about anything he said or expressed.
Right, like-
Aside from this, where like,
Yeah.
Paul said, he told me he was being, which I don't believe. Because according to Shanda, he's like, "I'm being skinny," or via Paul, "I'm trying to be skinny to make her feel bad." And that's like trying to be super Jewish to make Hitler feel something, right?
Do you know if like the dad and the stepmom testified? I wonder, because I wonder what they would have to say.
There's a million parts of this that I'm not familiar with because there's so much available, and I can't dive so deep into every case.
I mean, regardless, like she did what she did and she's in jail
Right.
forever for it. But
Like I would like to think that the dad feels a little responsible, unless he's like, "Oh well, want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs." But like, it's not like you gave a fish to someone and you go over and go, "Where's that fish I gave you?" And they go, "Oh, it died."
right.
I would assume so, yes, sir.
This is June 29th. This is
Yes,
about
sir.
8 days before he dies.
Yeah, I would assume so.
I'd assume.
And Paul's response is, "Of course he did." And your response to that is, "Yeah, so while I want to fix it, he will get most of his calories from plain bread and rice for, pulling that. He will get plenty of calories, but not get to enjoy them that way, That doesn't sound like somebody who's on a hunger strike to me. Can you clarify that for me, please?
I don't
I doubt it because, like I said,
remember, but I know he wasn't eating. There was.
See, here's what, whatever, Monday morning quarterback. If I were this prosecutor, I would consider peppering this cross-examination with questions about Paul. Be like, hey, what did Paul do on X day? Because she'll fucking remember that because he's alive. And she was his master and he was her toady.
And he did
so
it, you're right.
If he asked, like, well, what did Paul do on X day? Like, the text says, you did blah, blah, blah with Paul. She would go, oh, yeah, I bet. Right? She would go, oh, yeah, I remember that. Like, oh, what did Paul? But you say, well, okay, so 2 text messages later when you say, kick Tim in the dick and then grind your heel into his sack into like a gravel road. Do you remember that? You go, no. Oh, but 2 text messages ago, you remember buying Paul a Carvel ice cream cake.
Right.
Bitch.
Continues on. KK. So yeah, we'll tell you more about what he can eat later, June 29th.
Just because we offered him food doesn't. I mean, we offered him food when he was on the hunger strike in January.
Bread, rice,
at least
hot
I
sauce.
did. I mean, I would assume Paul did as well. But just because you offered stuff, I mean, you couldn't. Even though it says try to force him to eat, you couldn't force him to eat stuff. I mean, if he.
You couldn't force a child so hungry he ate frozen chicken nuggets, raw hamburger, and raw bacon.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to feed him, but what he wanted was raw and frozen and sneaky, devious snacks.
You heard Paul's testimony yesterday that he had to force him to eat the bread with hot sauce on it, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I don't know what he means by that.
But that.
It's interesting you use the phrase we tried to.
You don't know what he means. Like when Paul was on the stand and he said, I had to make him by physical force to eat the bread. I don't know how that's confusing to someone who passed the bar, right? I had to force bread with hot sauce into his mouth because it was a punishment. I don't know what he means by that.
I don't know what he means.
I'm not a lawyer and I understand it. I might be suboptimal intelligence and I understand it.
Tried to tempt him with food. That came up while he was in the ice bath, didn't it? Tempting him with food.
Do you mean the day before he passed?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, if I said yes, sir. I mean.
They're gonna get into it, and like this is the cherry on the sundae, people. I think. I hope they're gonna get into it, but like if we don't, I'll tell you.
You told Paul to heat up some pizza rolls because you needed the pizza rolls anyway, right? You remember that?
Yes, sir.
I
don't remember the text message.
Don't remember. So this falls in the I don't remember category as well. Is that right?
Like most of it.
Well, the text message says, heat one up.
That's the defense I want to take, especially in a murder trial. This falls into the I don't know bucket. Yes, sir. Like most of it. Cool. Jury?
Hold it in front of him, but be ready to pull away if he tries to grab it. If you don't remember sending any of that.
I don't remember it, no, sir.
Convenient.
But you definitely did. Here's the thing. Right before he died, like he's on the verge of death's door. And realistically, probably unsalvageable. Because starvation is one of those things where beyond a certain point, even if you start eating again, your body's gut biome and everything about it is fucked. So even though she was telling Paul to heat up a couple pizza rolls and waft them under Timothy's nose, again, while in an ice bath, to see if he'd react. The point of it was to get him to react, but pull it away. So even if he got to eat that pizza roll, he still would have died. Mm-hmm. It's just, hey, here's a little survival for you. Psych.
You heard.
It looks more like her face was hit with a frying pan versus the head. For reference from earlier, her memory was lost because I think this happens in Roger Rabbit or any other cartoon where like they get hit in the face with a frying pan and their face takes the shape of the frying pan.
Uh-huh.
She is slowly. Or like, here's another topical reference. You guys see that meme picture of the Lincoln statue made out of wax melting in D.C.? Like she is becoming that rancid Abraham Lincoln.
You heard the text messages read yesterday, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
Is it fair to say that you just don't remember?
Fair to say?
Those text
Is there any
messages?
reason?
Most of them, I don't remember.
Most of them.
Yeah. But then you've got your big binder. I can
Got your
can
big
pretty much
binder.
guarantee I don't remember most of that either. I don't. And it's not just my text with Paul.
Right, but here in the reality we live in, someone died, and a good defense is insanity. A legal defense is diminished capacity. Nowhere in any legal playbook is the "I don't remember, sir." Like, there's no flea flicker. There's no, like, Hail Mary, and then the "I don't remember." Oh,
Right.
This one. Like, Coach Lombardi is like, Shanda, pull the "I don't remember" bullshit. And if they do have evidence of it, say, if that's what it says, then that's probably what happened. Mm-hmm. And he pulls down his pork pie, takes a puff of his cigar, and he drives off in his 57 convertible Cadillac.
You don't
Good
remember
luck,
anything.
bitch.
No, sir, I don't.
But somehow you were
Jerry?
able to hold down a job as a judicial clerk during that time period, right?
Yes, sir.
Somehow.
My
And
only,
you were able to at least provide dog training to one client at that time, correct?
yes, sir.
So you were able to train a dog without using abuse and keep a job as a court clerk without abusing anyone there. It's weird.
And you remembered to tell Paul to get up and walk Sharma just about every morning, didn't you?
I mean, that would be automatic, it would be reflex. If it's in there, then I would assume so, yes, sir.
That would be
That's instinctual. Every day I wake up and, like a force of nature, I go, did you walk the dog?
reflex to tell Paul to get up.
P.S. My service dog that I need from the PTSD from witnessing the aftermath of a stroke of a already disabled person. So what did you see? Hypothetically and theoretically, I had a stroke. No one around me when I was having it got PTSD, or at least they haven't told me about it.
Get up and walk Sharma.
It's a little one. Don't worry about it.
I mean, if it's a habit, if I do it enough times, then
Like making my son dunk my other son's dick in hot sauce. It was just like reflex. I was like, dick in hot sauce. Walk the dog.
There's
Right?
no way that kid could have stayed there and not died. Right.
Exactly. There's one out there, and I'm never going to watch the footage with you because I can't make it through myself without you. Fuck. It is absolutely terrible. I can't remember the names because I don't want to commit any of this to memory, but it's this dude with his dreadlocks, and he utterly abused this small child. I'm not going to get into it, but one of his methods was like classic SVU style toilet plunger into his ass style torture.
It's like 13 Reasons Why shit. They did that on that
I
show.
didn't watch that garbage. But like, this is real. Like, he was doing legitimate, harmful, like, in
Yeah.
SVU, the dude's intestines get punctured and perforated because someone stuck a
Right.
plunger handle up his ass. Mm-hmm. And I think his name is Tonka or whatever. I don't care enough to look. But it's one of those ones where, like, it's not even like a Shanda where it's like, oh, I didn't know or this or that. It's just like, yeah, I did it. And, like, he just wasn't tough enough to handle my abuse. That fucking weak-ass 4-year-old.
and plus it served to get Paul out of bed when I left because he liked to go back to sleep.
You told the officer that there was an alarm on the basement door. This is the small closet because there was some sewing stuff stored in it. That was a lie, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, there was sewing stuff stored in it before he asked to do that, but
But the alarm
I don't know why I
wasn't-
told him that.
The alarm wasn't on there because there was sewing stuff on it, was there?
No, sir.
Right, so before you turned that tiny-ass closet into a bedroom, you had sewing stuff in there and no lock. Because why would you have to safeguard sewing accoutrement, right?
The alarm was on it because Timothy was supposed to be in there, right?
I mean, as far as I know, like I said, I don't.
As far as I know, it was supposed to be there. I don't know if Paul ever would follow my orders to the letter. Gestapo-like.
Don't. You don't remember, but you were able to lie to the police officer at the time?
I don't remember talking to the police. I mean, I don't remember this part of the conversation with the police officer, sir.
You tell the officer that there were cameras in the home because G would strip down naked and wander around.
And you wanted video proof of that? What? That's not unusual. When I was a kid, I loved going commando. My kid today, he doesn't go full nude. He keeps his underwear on, but he loves to run around without shirt and shorts.
Yeah.
It's hot, so I get it. But I wouldn't be like, oh, this is something I need video footage of.
No.
Because if there's one thing we know for sure is like any footage of children unclothed is always used for good.
Well, that wasn't the only reason the cameras were in the house, was it?
No, sir.
You left out all the other details about that you had to monitor Timothy and make sure he didn't go certain places and sneak places and be deceitful, right? You didn't.
Well, since he was dead, I didn't feel like talking about how I'd been abusing him for years, potentially at that point, was germane. It's like Nancy Brophy putting all the evidence in a box and marking it for police and then not giving it to them.
Tell the officer that, did you?
Apparently not. I don't know why I didn't, but
Like when Michael Dunn killed that kid, then waited till the next morning till Les Vester, or whatever his fucking name is, the
Environmental
agricultural
guy.
agent with a shield and everything.
He's got a shield.
Asked him over for dinner when he was like, hey, can I talk to you about something later? And he's like, sure.
You said he fell out of bed and you went and had to get him and put him back into bed. He never fell out of bed that night, did he?
We covered this.
not as far as I know. I don't remember, sir.
Well,
Objection.
you know he didn't sleep in the bed that night, don't you?
Well, yeah, so I'm sorry.
It's the same that you
I'm sorry.
got up at 5:30 and had to put him back into bed, and then you changed it to 30 minutes because sometime with the ending in a 30 because you learned at that point the rigor mortis had already set in and he'd been deceased for a number of hours. That was still a lie, wasn't it?
I mean, yes, sir, I don't remember any of this. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the thing. At least she doesn't remember as much of her lies as she doesn't remember of the truth. That does feel a little genuine, right, guys? Because if you aren't going to remember something, you won't remember the lies in addition to the truth. So maybe, are I possible? I realize we haven't solved the Jack the Ripper case. Maybe we could throw the Vander case in that too and go for another 140 years speculating.
Jury?
Jury? Guys? Objection. Conjecture.
The hot sauce in the bathroom downstairs was
Objection. Hearsay.
for food.
See what sticks.
But it wasn't, was it? The hot sauce was for punishment, right?
It was also to put on food.
That's what hot sauce is for, you stupid bitch. Like, the hot sauce was for punishment, wasn't it? It was also to put on food.
Would you use
The
for fun?
food fed to him as a punishment?
Uh-huh.
Would you consider his dick food, you stupid bitch? Disgusting. Jail! Jail!
But you didn't mention that we also
Prison.
use hot sauce as a form of punishment, did you?
Apparently not.
I'm guessing you probably didn't mention the officer. Oh, we also had the crazy idea yesterday to pour some hot sauce on his penis for a punishment. You didn't mention that either, did you?
Apparently not.
It was just a zany idea off the top of my head. Like, it's not
winging
one of those things where it's like, hey guys, what if we put jam, like strawberry jam on a bacon cheeseburger? That's a far out idea, right? Zany. Like a food truck owner would lose his business if he goes, strawberry jam on a bacon cheeseburger? You're crazy. Tabasco on genitals, you go, it's a little nutty.
I'm not, sir. Like I said, I don't remember.
You told the officer that you did not restrict Timothy's movement at night with shackles. That was also
Of course I approve, Ryan. If you're going to sit down to a pineapple and pepperoni pizza, even if it is from Domino's, which I understand has made some progress in recent years, I'm down. I mean, I would eat it and get diarrhea because I can't eat wheat, but
It just makes me hungry.
I would enjoy. Right up until I started shitting my brains out.
Yeah.
also a lie, wasn't it?
But then what isn't enjoyable until you start shitting your brains out? Really, guys?
True. True.
Roller coasters,
Taco Bell.
foods, others.
Again, I don't remember, sir. I know we talked about it, but as far as overnight, no.
But you would restrict his movement with shackles, wouldn't you? Whether it was zip ties or handcuffs or leg shackles.
I mean, I can only go back based on the
I mean, I did buy zip ties, handcuffs, and shackles, but I can only go by what the texts are saying, and I have to agree with that because, like,
It's a thing.
what would we be doing here if I just agreed to everything you had evidence of, right?
It's in blue and green.
I'm putting on a defense, and by that I mean I don't remember.
on the text messages. I don't know.
Anybody?
Another thing that happens to these people is like, it happened to Castor. I can't remember her first name. The both of the antifreeze poisoner wives, Chris Watts, everybody. If you could see like the before and after, because you see the interrogation footage, and if you're lucky enough to see them like the court footage or whatever gets uploaded. You see a picture of him later. Everybody gets super fat. Mm-hmm. Paul got fat. Shanda got fat. Everybody gets fat. Chris Watts is fat. You go to prison and you eat nothing but trash, and you become this like fat potluck,
Even Sarah
disgusting
Boone.
blob.
Sarah Boone's face got a little heavy.
Right, because they feed them like livestock feed. They're eating grains and silage and shit because it's cheap. But like, it's just such a, because you don't get to, like in real life when you're seeing someone every day, you get to see them slowly get fatter or skinny or whatever, so it doesn't really register. But like checking in on interrogation and then a crime, or not a crime, but a courtroom setting and then like later for sentencing is just like boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Anything
Why
else,
did
sir?
you wait 20 minutes to call 911 after you found Timothy deceased in the small closet in the small room?
I have no idea, honestly. I
I was trying to think up, like, I was trying to explain away months and months of torture, and 20 minutes seemed like it was pushing it. I could have stretched it to an hour and a half, but I was like, Paul,
We should probably.
going to be suspicious if we don't call in the next 35, 40 minutes. You know, Michelangelo said it best, like, you know, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. That also sort of translates to calling 911. You know, accidents happen, but if you wait 20 minutes to call, you never pay full price for that late pizza.
I learned of that gap, just a couple of days ago.
I learned
Who are
about
you
that
asking?
gap. When I was, somebody
Defense?
over there,
Somebody?
I learned about that gap. Yeah, of course. Like if I found Krista dead or anybody I know dead, like anybody I work with even, let's say someone I don't really necessarily give a much of a shit about, if I walk into the office and there's a corpse in the cubicle next to me, I wouldn't go like, oh boy, yee. Get my laptop set up.
We clock in.
Chargers plugged in, clock in, because I'm not going to call 911 on my time. And then be like, hey, corpse alert.
The whole day is surreal to me, so I have no idea why we waited like that. I don't know.
I had to go to the grocery store. I had to go to like the dry cleaners. Like who goes to the dry cleaners in this day and age? I had a dry clean only garment. It was just a real rough one.
It was a big day.
So what? Timothy's dead. My jacket was a red wine stain. I remember that.
I don't know. I can't imagine waiting, but apparently it happened. I don't know.
Do you remember Paul asking you, should we call 911?
I don't remember him ever asking. I don't,
Was this all through text? I don't
was the one that
remember.
Called.
All I remember was Timothy's dad asking if I could take him and then waking up months later to a dead body in my closet. Is that enough for you? Can I get out of this fucking box, please?
And I was the one.
You're mean.
I'm done.
I remember
mean to
performing
me.
CPR, and he did help me out a little bit when I got tired to take over a little bit. But
Ugh.
I mean, I can't imagine everything.
See, that's even more. That was a fake one. It sounds more real than her vomit. Watch this.
Don't.
A picture of a dead body.
Stop.
Hello? And she goes, like a cat with the driest hairball in the fucking world. That's my dead son.
Never say no to that.
But if it's on the video, that's what you said, right?
If it's on there.
If it's there.
If it's on there. Vander Ark. Thought I heard
So if the
something.
video showed that it begins...
Do one of you guys say not guilty over there, Judge?
I heard
I
mistrial.
swear to God I heard a not guilty. No? All right, keep going.
with movement outside of the room at about
Look at her mouth twitching.
6:21. And 911 is actually called. You tell Paul you have to call at 6:37, so that's about 18 minutes, isn't it?
I mean, let's see.
Why are you
19,
texting this
that's
if you're in the same house?
Yeah, they're in separate bedrooms. Tim's dead, Paul, LOL. Do you think I should call 911? I don't know. I'm a functional moron. Send.
18 minutes.
And
I'm a lawyer.
Timothy was never.
So quit say what? Huh? Huh? What? Gotcha!
Listen to you, was it?
No, sir.
His eyes were wide open, completely glazed over, weren't they?
As far as I remember, yes, sir.
You
And
never
he was not allowed donuts, so where'd he get the glaze?
moved, never took a breath, never did anything, did you?
No, sir.
He was dead. Couldn't do anything.
And while this is all going on, you tell Paul, we'll have to tell them he was on a hunger strike. Right? Remember telling him that?
No, I don't.
Don't remember that either?
No, sir.
Paul does. And he's got some credibility because that's the thing about Paul. Paul remembers all the stuff that you don't because he was getting those text messages. So it's kind of a bummer. But that's another thing that happens in interrogations. You don't see the rubber hitting the road necessarily. When it's a crime in concert, meaning more than one party is involved, in the interrogation room, you feel a little more confident in being like, I don't know what they're saying, their shit's bullshit, and yada, 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 because you're still at that spot in reality where it's just words and they're not willing to collapse the waveform of all the evidence they have. So let's say, well, this and that, or I'm not saying you're a murderer, Brett, you love them babies, Tracy. I never said that, did I? I never said you were a murderer. I never said that at all, Tracy. But here we are in the courtroom where, they have to turn in all the evidence to the court itself, the defense attorney on discovery. So it's not like you can go like, not to my knowledge. I mean, the best you're going to get is like, if that's what it says. Like, I would have killed for Gabriel Renee to say if that's what it says, then it must be what happened. That's how desperate I am for the concessions in this case.
Do you remember telling Paul, or do you remember saying put his pants on to make it look like he's been this way?
I don't remember saying that.
Do you remember asking Paul to put the belt on to make it sure that that's the way he looked?
No, sir.
But if they're on video, you said those things,
Yes,
right?
sir.
God damn. I want to, if there's a person out there with the time, please put together a supercut of Shanda Vander Ark looking like one of those wall clock cats. Because it's out there. There's enough footage for it. Just like an 8-hour supercut of her going tick tock, tick tock.
Ms. Van Ark,
You're guilty.
isn't it true? Timothy had just become nothing more than an annoyance for you, and he wasn't even a human being in your eyes anymore.
That is absolutely not true.
I don't want to go to jail. But doesn't this feel like, not feel necessarily, but if you've had an office job, what the prosecuting attorney doing is like what I do at around 2:58. Like you hear the papers getting shuffled away, you hear the zipping of bags as things get put away because the day is over.
Yeah.
The job is done, you get to go home. And the second you get to hear that in any normal situation, you go, ooh, exciting, it's going home time. In this case, Shanda, she sees him packing up and slipping his arms through his backpack to be like, smell you later, Judge. And she's like, oh. Like, this is terrible, obviously. Like, getting raked over the coals by a man who's smarter than you and has all the evidence of your guilt, that's one thing. But to see him, like, packing up, ready to go home means you're that much closer to the end of your rope.
When you could see her nose already starting to get red.
Which is so annoying.
Good night, Ryan. He'll see us at the Samba stream from 30,000 feet.
They let you have your phone on the plane? I guess they have Wi-Fi now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And there you go. That's the end of it. Boo.
She got like the hardest, not the hardest, she got what she deserved, obviously. And the judge gave her the most sentence that she could have gotten, which was life plus like 50 years or something crazy for like all the other extra charges. Obviously, because hello.
Right.
Like,
because holy fuck. Like this is almost, I would lump this in with like a TCAP case where like the evidence was so strong and overwhelming. It would be as if you threw a shovel into a sandbox, right? And you lifted up the entire mass of Mount Kilimanjaro. Threw it on yourself.
yeah.
whatever. I've got a couple other things I kind of want to show you guys, and since they're, maybe I'll put in whatever. It's short. Maybe we'll do a grab bag. Maybe I won't show you. Just kidding. I've got like 3 short things that all sort of deal with cases we've touched on before, but I'll save that for its own thing because I don't want to like ruin it because like who's going to watch it now? Because like Shanda is going to jail.
Yeah.
That being said, she did. She went to jail. She's still there now. She's fat and ugly and disgusting and murderous and malignant and all the other stuff that you want to throw at her.
Yeah.
I feel no qualms about saying that. There are some people out there like a Kenneth Brinkman who's a 3 and you go, well, accidents happen, lapses in judgment, yada, yada, yada. We can all make excuses. This isn't a 3. This is an 11.
Yes. Yes.
Because it wasn't like a single night on a chat roulette. This was months and months of text and visual confirmation. Your torture was winnowing this child's life force into oblivion.
Yes.
God damn.
I couldn't believe yet you decided to do this one. Because, I mean, I just watched it with David the other day and just listened to majority of it because we were doing other things in the house. And I just couldn't, like, it was hard to not listen, but it was hard to listen because of all the shit.
I don't know. I've spoken about this before, and I realize the show's over or whatever. We're going to talk about more shit. It's the same concept of, like, if someone gets murdered, like we talked about this with Amy Day. When you get someone who kills another person for the monetary benefit, if it's $0 to $500, we go, what a senseless. And if it's above that into the whatever, millions or whatever, oh, of course, it's justifiable in some sort of way. And we as a society go, well, of course. The tens of thousands, if not hundreds, if not millions of dollars got the better of this person, yada, yada, yada. But then we go, this person killed someone for $400 of food stamps. Mm-hmm. And we go, oh, disgusting. Disgusting.
Horrible. Disgusting.
Have to take a shot. You know? It's one of those things where it's like, because it wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't necessarily like she made a plan to commit murder. It was just, and it wasn't lack of intelligence. It was lack of humanity, lack of empathy, lack of whatever you think separates us from the lower orders or classes of the fauna. Yeah, flora is plants, fauna is animals. But anyone else lower on the scale of fauna, because whatever, humans think that we're not animals and that we can, why do humans get ghosts but no other living organism does? Because we blow smoke up our asses about how important we are, right? So no matter what, a life lost is a life lost. Was it for $40, apathy, psychopathy, malicious intent? I just keep wanting to point out the fact that justice doesn't exist. Because if justice did exist, justice implies like that balancing of the scales, right? Mm-hmm. Statue of Justice. She's blind, but she holds a scale to make sure everything's even.
Right.
Timothy was tortured and then murdered agonizingly. Got no appeal, got no defense, got no chance to make a case for himself. Just died. Justice gives Shanda a defense attorney, a bunch of dumb shit defense points, the ability to sit on a stand and get ripped apart by a prosecutor after her, defense counsel on direct tries to blow her inside out. But I understand why it's there because But do I? Because people get railroaded all the time, and the justice system is there with stopgaps to make sure this shit doesn't happen, that we get all the bad guys and all the good guys go free. That doesn't happen. I don't think justice exists. Yeah. I just don't think it does. Even if there were such a thing as like, if we could set a value on property, on human life, on whatever. And we can say it's a 1-to-1 trade. It'll never happen. Like on some like property crime, someone steals your iPod and you go, hey, they stole my iPod. And then they broke it. Buy me a new one. You go, okay, we're even. I was slightly inconvenienced. I didn't have music for a couple of weeks, had to go to a trial, but here we are at the end. I've got a new iPod. We can all go about our lives. No one's going to hand her a new Timothy to be like, don't kill this one.
Right.
You bitch. Anyway, that was Shanda Vander Ark. Shanda, whatever you want to call her. Frau Farbissina or Frau Bucha. Yeah, whatever. She's a fucking nightmare. Thank you for coming, and Victoria Justice from Victorious. I don't know anything about her. I wasn't watching WB?
Question mark?
Question mark? Or UPN? I don't know. I didn't watch that shit. That's the thing. I just don't think I don't think it exists. Like, people in this genre throw around words like closure or justice or whatever. They say, oh, the wheels of... Everyone, like if you watch Forensic Files or Cold Case Files with classic, goats, Peter Thomas and Bill Curtis, respectively, it always curdles my guts for the detective to go like, well, people say the wheels of justice move slowly, and they're right, but we got it did. Sure, like
45 years later.
The crime was solved. We know what happened, more or less. But like these poor people who had their children abducted in the 70s, who spent 40 years in agonizing unknown, and typically one of the parents dies from the grief or they split up because of, I can't tell you how many times I've watched documentaries about children who are abducted and the marriage just falls to shit.
Yeah.
So, what is it? You've met Bill Curtis? He is a... Man. Bill Curtis and Pete Thomas. Here's the thing. I'm a little jealous, but I'm also not, because they're both very popular and famous voices. Quick side note. I got Wayne, the one and only Wayne June, who played drums with Johnny Winter, and amazing vocal. If you are into Lovecraft audiobooks, you know Wayne June. Wayne June did my audiobook. And I'll take that 10 out of 10 times of meeting Bill Curtis. But I totally appreciate that, because if I didn't have that, I'd go Bill Curtis.
And he did the Bathroom Cougar.
You want to hear that?
This episode of FFOP Radio is brought to you by the Bathroom
It's very
Cougar.
long.
Does this happen to you?
Our sounds
Wayne June.
Someone's in here.
With the Bathroom Cougar, scare off any would-be embarrassment before it has a chance to happen.
Oh shit, I gotta get out of here.
The Bathroom Cougar, available at Best Buy and all fine retailers.
That goddamn saint of a man
did all that.
Did all of it. I sent him the script. He did all of the editing. He added the piss sound. He added the cougar. That man is pure gold. I fucking love Wayne June. I talked to him on the phone. I love that man. Anyway, that's enough. We've done it all. We've said it all. Good night, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one. And just for you, Ryan.
I made some spaghetti, but I dropped some sauce on the floor.
Good. That's it. Smell you later, everybody.
Bye.
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.